right, folks, grab a seat and pour your drink neat as Whiskers and Whiskeys present Tale of the Trophies, the Big Ten's greatest rivalries. I'm Mike, back again with EJ and Joe. How we doing, boys?
Doing great. Two of the three teams here are undefeated, but I guess we can talk about that in a little bit.
You're just off the top.
I'm doing well.
Up here.
I won't come at you early, Mike. So I'm doing well. Sorry for your loss.
I can't believe I might end this Zoom call and just end. I was so, we'll get into it, whatever.
Listeners here, I really actually threw Mike a curveball by saying that to open up here. But today we actually have another guest, a very special guest here. It is the second trophy we're talking about that has to do with Michigan State. So why not bring in a state grad? So Nathan, my coworker, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, EJ. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome to the pod. A stater. Or wait, are you a troll or a youper?
I guess I'm a troll. I mean, we're all trolls, is what you guys decided last week, right? Like we're all under the bridge.
I mean, that's the way I understand it.
Are you originally from Michigan though?
No, I'm from Virginia originally.
Okay, so you're an honorable troll.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, why don't we then get into what we're drinking? So, Joe,
let's do it. So our drink for this week is not necessarily a drink that has much significance to the rivalry. The only significance really is that it ties to Indiana as a state. It's called the Hoosier Heritage. So this drink, I found it online. It doesn't really, like I said, doesn't have much connection to the school or anything. It was the 2015 unofficial cocktail of Indiana, and that was due to a result of a contest held by the Indiana State Museum and they included, like, I guess, hundreds of bartenders who all submitted drinks that they thought should be the Indiana cocktail, and this one won. Don't have any really reasoning why or how it came to be, but this is it. So it's 1.5 ounces of rye, 1/2 ounce of maple syrup, 1/2 ounce of lemon juice, 1 ounce apple cider, and 1 rosemary sprig. And then to make this, you're going to muddle the rosemary and the syrup, it's actual syrup like that you use on pancakes.
Oh, you even got the rosemary in there, pal.
Oh yeah,
we don't mess around.
I didn't go that far, but wow,
so you muddle the rosemary and the syrup, and then you add everything else, your rye and your lemon juice and your cider. Shake that, obviously with ice, and then you strain it over more ice, and then garnish with another rosemary sprig. So that's it.
Yeah, guys, make sure you pay attention to the instructions, because Joe and I first tried to muddle the syrup and the rosemary in our rocks class without thinking about it.
That's not smart.
No, and then once we added everything else to it and poured it in the glass, we noticed that it was not very, didn't have a high volume of liquid, and we realized we forgot the whiskey. So we really
so in our defense, it had 2 steps, and the first step was that it didn't say what to muddle in. So I'm assuming we're making this all in one glass, like an old fashioned. And then it says step 2, go ahead and shake it. And I'm like, okay, I guess we'll shake it in our glass here.
Like a Polaroid
so we got a little extra syrup in our glass is really what we're getting to.
So
we stumbled.
Well, let's get into it. Cheers,
boys.
Let's try it.
Cheers.
Joe, you said that there's no real reason behind why this was picked as like the drink of Indiana.
No, it was just submitted as one of the cocktails for this competition. I mean, I also didn't spend a ton of time on researching it, but
no, that's okay, because if we look at the way the state of Indiana decides things, I mean, let's harken back to the old open bucket. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason.
It was probably the same lines of family that created that picked this drink as the contest winner that chose the bucket. So
now I've had this drink. I forget which wedding it was at, but I was at someone's wedding, and their signature. It was a nice like barn wedding, like very, very nice. And this drink without the rosemary was actually like their drink of choice. You know, like there's the groom's drink and the bride's drink, and this was the groom's drink, and I had about 1 million of them. It was delicious. It's so good. Well, I mean, like I like cider anyways, and cider and bourbon is perfect. Just a perfect like fall.
It's a good fall drink.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like Michigan, like cider mills. I don't know if you guys, when you guys were in Michigan, like visited cider mills a lot, but we would go every year. So something that was kind of cool for us.
Are cider mills like where I grew up in Western PA? There's covered bridges everywhere. Are cider mills the covered bridges of
that's something I didn't realize was
it's like basic
Michigan,
fall,
Ohio thing.
basic bitches for fall. Like you're taking selfies, you're getting pumpkins, you're getting cider and donuts.
You're heading to the cider mill,
but you're getting
cider
like,
donuts,
right? You're getting
fresh,
fresh off, and then you have like the cider. A lot of the times you can watch them make it in a lot of these mills. Like it's all made there, and it doesn't happen outside of Michigan and Ohio, at least not in Pennsylvania or Virginia. Because
I love me a good cider
Nathan, did you
donut.
visit cider mills when you were up there?
Yeah, I've been to Uncle John's a handful of times.
Is that in East Lansing?
It's like just northeast Lansing, like straight up 127, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, they make a bunch. They actually distribute their cider nationally now, which is kind of crazy.
Uncle John's,
the hard cider.
Taking note of this.
And that's
shout out
good.
Uncle John.
But yeah, no free ads, I guess. But
no free.
Oh no, they paid for that. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely like a very, very Michigan, Ohio.
This place looks extremely quaint.
Okay.
So
it's great.
So quaint. Here, I'll pull it up. I'll share a screen here, guys.
When we go up for the Paul Bunyan, we're going to take Mike to a cider mill.
I would love that. Look at how quaint Uncle John's looks. Just
yeah, that's exactly what they look like. Yeah. Another good one is Yates. We go to Yates in Rochester.
Okay. The one thing I will say that is the biggest con.
Yates is number one. Michigan's number one.
Yates is a good one
of cider mills are the bees. The bees are
the bees are terrible.
Everywhere.
Yeah, that makes sense. But
all
you
right,
know
guys,
what? These
why don't we?
Important.
They are important. Not. I don't know about.
Everybody, check out Mike's tabs. He's got open there. What else you got?
Yeah. There's...
Oh, you might want to close that one.
Oh, yeah. The first one.
The Urban Meyer oil check.
All right, guys. Why don't we do a rating here? So, Nathan, you're a guest. Why don't you start us off? So, how would you rate this drink on a scale from 1 to 5?
Yeah, maybe like a 3.5. 3.5 or 4. Like it's pretty good. It's very fall-y, but it's not. It doesn't. It's not super unique. I don't.
Do you like whiskey a lot, Nathan? Like, what's your drink of choice? Like, what are you normally drinking? Whenever you're out or at home, like whenever.
Yeah, like old fashioned's probably my go-to. Bourbon.
This is the place for you.
Yeah. No, I'm big in on the whiskey with you guys. So
did you try the Verner's one yet?
No, I have not. But
we'll have to set that up sometime.
Yes. I am gonna have to get some. Yeah, I gotta go to Michigan, get some ginger ale and some apple cider so I can make all these drinks appropriately.
All right, Mike, what's your rating for this?
I like it a lot. The rosemary is like an interesting addition. Like I didn't use like fresh rosemary with the sprig in it. I just used kind of what I had. So didn't pay the extra money there. I have rosemary seasoning, so I just tossed some of that in there. Yeah, I strained it there. I strained it. So I just used a little bit of rosemary seasoning. So it's probably tastes like not as good. But yeah, I mean it's a good drink. I would say it's like a 4. I like it though. I like cider and I like bourbon. So I also use bourbons that are rye. So
okay. Joe?
I'm also gonna go 4. Yeah, it's good. It does remind me of like the cider mills and kind of takes me back home a little bit. And it's not it's not one of the drinks where it's like heavy on the alcohol. I know Mike prefers that kind of drink, but it hides it. It masks it a little bit. So I like it. It's easy to drink.
I'm going to go with a 3, and it's only because I think the syrup is giving me some PTSD from yesterday.
What happened yesterday?
I don't know if I told you, Nathan. I told Tom.
You did, yeah.
So I for the listeners here, I lost my fantasy football league 2 years ago because last year we didn't really count. And we started a new punishment for the loser this year where you have to sit in either a Waffle House or an IHOP for 24 hours. And then for each pancake or waffle you eat, you get to deduct an hour from your sentence. So I got in at 5:30 in the morning at the IHOP, and I was there until about 12:45. So I spent 7.5 hours there and ate 17 pancakes.
Now, how did you feel? Like, did it ruin your day? That's
God.
Those weren't even ones I ate.
If anyone's on YouTube, this will be the photo that's uploaded on on our Instagram.
So those were my wife's pumpkin pancakes. So
I also
she
just
came
noticed
and
my
had
name is my
breakfast.
wife's name on the Zoom call.
It sure is every
Yeah.
week. I love it.
Mike, I felt pretty terrible the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I just was really gassy.
Well,
just
thanks
burped,
for sharing that. Yeah.
get like pancake syrup, butter. I mean, I only had syrup on the first batch of them, but it was just it was a lot. It's a lot, and it's just a lot of time to be sitting there.
How long till you eat them again?
Until I eat pancakes.
Yeah, like
the thing is, I don't even
have a pancake.
I don't even like pancakes, to be honest with you. If I'm on a scale of like breakfast, pastry food, like entrees, it's definitely French toast, waffles, pancakes.
See, I would have, because I don't like pancakes either. I would think that like, if it were me, I would have gone with maybe like blueberry, because I feel like that would be like a little bit, add a little bit of flavor, or chocolate.
Yeah, I would have done
right?
strawberry, banana.
Yeah,
or
something to change it up. And also, like I was telling you, like when you got to that, like an order of bacon would have helped to like add some savory there, because it's so sweet, you know. Like, but if you weren't adding syrup to all of them, then you're probably all right.
So I think it was just a strategy. I think I would do it differently.
Yeah, let's get in your head, coach. What were you thinking there?
So
coach, EJ,
yes.
What were you thinking when you got to about pancake number 10? How were you feeling there?
So the first 5
what was the strategy like?
Went fine. Okay, that went fine. And I just, at that point, it was maybe like 6:30. It was pretty empty, so I wasn't feeling too bad about being there. But as the day went on, it got so busy, so I felt like I needed to have food in front of me. It was not the case. The lady was so sweet, the waitress.
That was what I was gonna ask. What did she think? Was she like, who this? Did you explain everything, or was she just like, this guy loves pancakes?
She was just too busy to even explain things. But at one point I asked her, I was like, do you really need my table? Like, not like, do you need my table? Like, don't feel bad.
Yeah, sure.
Let's make this a communal table.
Yeah.
And because there were some seats outside, so I was willing to just kind of sit outside until I was ready to eat again. And
well, that would have broken the rules there.
Not really. I'm still there, not having fun. I'm sitting like it's outdoor seating.
Sitting on a bench outside of IHOP.
No, it was a table. They had like outdoor seating.
Oh,
so yeah.
Okay,
so I was
all right, that
outside.
counts.
Yeah. But she at one point she was like, honestly, I'm mad at my boss for giving me so many tables, and I know you're not eating right now, so please stay.
Nice.
So, but anyway, I ate the first 10 too fast. The next 5 put me in, and then I couldn't eat again until, I mean, I probably finished the first 10 by, what'd you say, like 9:30? I think you said 2.5 hours, and I really couldn't look at them again until like noon.
Yeah.
And then I kind of caught my second wind and made it count.
You did it right though. You sat there, you were able
there.
to watch game day and just, you know.
Yeah. He planned it well. He
Yeah.
He knew what
I
he was
tried.
doing.
Yeah. But yes, so that was that little detour to that. So I highly recommend, if you have a fantasy football league, implement this, because as easy as it sounds, it's not. The person will be miserable, and it would have been better if Joe and Mike weren't busy and they could have, like, checked in. I had a couple people FaceTime me from the league. Chris,
I had a day yesterday. We'll get into that though.
All right. Well, why don't we then segue to our college football recap from this last weekend? It was quite the weekend. Unfortunately, there were so many games on at noon, along with Michigan State, that it was hard for me to kind of keep track of it until the Spartans were done. But why don't we start off with some statement wins here? And I mean, look no further than the Penn State at Iowa game. So what'd you guys think?
Yeah, so not only were there a lot of great games yesterday, but there was also good movies on. So if there was a break in the action, I always like to have a good movie queued up, so like I can flip back and forth in commercials. And The Rock and Roadhouse were both on yesterday on movie channels, so no commercials there. So that was just like perfect. It was fantastic. Okay, we're at commercial break. Let me go see what Stanley Goodspeed's up to. Let me see how that's going. Let's find some freaking rockets. But
I was the opposite, because I was at my in-laws, so
yeah.
it was like sitting there just watching the game
In the sauna.
Wasn't able to. It was warm. Yeah, it's almost 80 in the house. Yep. So we weren't really switching the channels, but I did catch a few more games than I expected to. So we did catch this game, which I thought was going to get out of hand early, because Iowa threw that pick in the red zone in the first quarter, and I thought after that it was just going to be over. But
yeah,
they turned it into a game. So
I tuned in about halfway through, and I feel like from at least what I've seen, I feel like a lot of people are going after the Penn State coaching staff, but like I feel like that's a little unfair because like, I mean, they were dealing until Clifford went down.
Yeah.
You know,
And EJ and I talked a little bit about this earlier. Like I'm nowhere near the biggest fan of Clifford, but he does manage that team well enough to win. And without him, they struggled. And that I mean, you could tell they just couldn't score. They couldn't get the ball in the end zone when they needed to.
Yeah. I mean, these were two of the. I think they're ranked 2 and 3 in the nation in defense behind Georgia. Now, sizably behind Georgia, but they're
Georgia's
definitely
got some dogs.
The next 2 and 3, and I mean, it showed. The difference was, even though Clifford threw 2 picks in the first quarter, Iowa's offense is just awful. They're awful.
Yeah.
And Clifford's like mobility gave Iowa fits, and that was the difference. And it was gonna be a blowout for sure. And then as soon as he went down, it was bad news bears for Penn State. And
we just for the next coming weeks, we just got word we might have a special guest on the Iowa side, so we'll have some questions for him on the Iowa offense going forward.
Yeah, we'll say. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that many false start penalties in a game before on Penn State's offense. Like that was just crazy. They'd have 3 or 4 in a row.
That made me want to go to Kinnick. I already wanted to go to Kinnick, but that made me want to go to Kinnick.
Yeah. Kinnick's great. I made it out there for a game when I was at State.
Nice.
Really?
Awesome environment. Iowa fans are the best.
Did you do the wave?
Yeah. Well, no, this predated the wave.
Was it? Okay.
So, yeah, this was 2013.
Okay.
So
that
awesome
hospital wasn't there yet.
Awesome place. No, they hadn't finished the addition, I don't think.
Was it a night game or was it a day game?
It was a day game.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, still awesome environment.
Yeah.
I really want to go see a night game there.
Yeah. So I mean, it looks sweet.
Do you have pork tenderloin? Do you have pork tenderloin sandwich while you were in Iowa?
No. We went to. There's like a burger place there that's like the place that all the presidential candidates stop, and it's like super old. I forget what it's called, but really, really good burger. So reason to go back and get the pork.
Yeah. Oh man, pork tenderloin sandwich is like, oh gosh, it's great. It's also hilarious because the pork tenderloin itself covers like the whole plate, and it's just a little normal size bun. I love it.
Yeah, I think just to kind of wrap this up, I think my biggest takeaway was I still don't think either team beats Ohio State, unfortunately.
Well, with the way Ohio State's playing now, CJ Stroud's getting a lot of confidence.
While I think they're, especially Iowa's defense and Penn State's, I both think they'll slow Ohio State down, but I just don't know if either offense is going to score enough to keep up, because Ohio State's going to score.
Yeah, but Ohio State, don't forget, Ohio State's defense has struggled. And lately, like Mike, you said, they're getting confidence, but who have they been playing?
Yeah,
Rutgers and Maryland and
I will say
Toledo.
Yeah. Akron.
Petrus is not Petrus is not enough. I think maybe Penn State, if Clifford plays, might have enough to, but I think they have to go to Columbus.
What was the outcome of his injury? I know he didn't play the rest of the game, but I didn't hear anything on it.
It was his back, but I don't know any post-game stuff about it.
Okay.
I mean, it was bad enough for him to to be in street clothes before half. So that's
not a good sign.
Going to be something that lingers.
Yeah.
But all right, so why don't we get to 2 classics? And this was a shame because they were both on at noon, and I only caught the tail end, which I guess was still good enough. But the Red River rivalry, Oklahoma, Texas, right when you thought they were back,
they're up 21 points,
28-7 at one point.
Yeah.
And Mike and I bet them too, so that sucked.
So
did I.
I was big on on the whole state of Texas yesterday. I took, except for one team. We'll get to that. Even on the weekend, actually.
I think I know which one.
I made a bundle on Houston, and then I bet Texas, I bet UTSA, Roadrunners meet, and I bet UTEP. Right. And I did a couple parlays, like I did a lot of stuff. I was feeling really good. And yesterday was an interesting day for me. I pretty much did exactly what the folks at ESPN and Home Depot want. I had a lot of projects around the house. I like installed some light fixtures. I hung some sconces. Like I did a bunch of stuff around that. I went to Home Depot yesterday too, because I didn't have something I needed, so I went and got it. So I was watching this game, and every project like had its own little like issue, so that was annoying. But I had this game on. I had the volume like super loud, so like I was doing things, but like I could hear the game, and like I had it on the TV. And they were up 28-7. And there was a moment there where, had I not been working on projects, I probably would have hedged because I had so much on Texas. And I obviously love Texas and I hate Oklahoma so much. And I was thinking, I'm like, I should hedge. But, I had a bunch of projects going on and I didn't. And I feel like an idiot. And also, Lincoln Riley, I don't wish like death or injury on him, but like if he could just be severely inconvenienced, like maybe somewhere he has to be, like he's late to like being somewhere and he also has to really pee and like he gets a flat tire. Like that's what I hope happens to Lincoln Riley. Like, or once a week for the rest of his life.
Right.
Because
or he has that
running
feeling.
The ball when you could kick the field goal so that the Longhorns could still cover, it infuriates me to no end. And just the fact that like Texas should have won that game. I know then there's some talk about like, did Texas choke? I don't think they choked. I think Caleb Caleb Williams coming in. That makes a big difference. As someone who's been on the other side, the winning side of switching out a quarterback like that, when Jalen Hurts went out and Tua came in, and then vice versa, like the next year, that type of a switch changes a lot of things. So I think that Oklahoma doing that obviously changed the game plan.
They're
but you should be able to weather that.
Right.
Not when he lights it up and he comes in and just tears the house down.
Yes, but Texas was lighting Oklahoma up. So they had all the time in the world to like adjust at halftime and continue to score points.
There's no excuse for blowing that lead.
There's no excuse, Mike. 21. I don't care what the kid is. And he played well. Rattler's done. He can't go pro because he's not going to be a first round pick anymore.
No,
he can't stay there because it's Caleb's team now. So I'd expect him to.
I think they evicted him. Is he done?
No, he's a junior.
Well, yeah, he can enter the transfer portal. But yeah, I mean, this Caleb Williams kid just showed up and I think had a great day. And it's hard to like that is hard. Like that's like Georgia was like dog walking Alabama, and then when you take out Jalen and bring in Tua, someone who plays differently, just like Caleb Williams is a different type of quarterback than Spencer Rattler, I think that makes a big difference. And
it
does. But if you're spotting them 21, you should expect to score
a true freshman, right?
Enough, right? You should expect. You have a Heisman candidate in your running back, like you should expect. And that touchdown play that they scored on it. They scored on that exact play earlier. So
yeah, and didn't they bring Rattler back in? Didn't they bring him in for the 2 point?
For the 2 point?
Oh, the 2 pointer. Yeah.
That was strange.
Yeah.
They just also Texas just had some bad breaks afterwards. I mean, just that fumble on the kick on what was
Mike's still high on Texas.
I do like Texas. I mean, I hook them, baby. Like I love Texas, even though they let me down and broke my heart. I did, like I told you guys, I said I'm done with college football for the day. I watched The Rock for like 30 minutes and then I turned like Iowa, Penn State on, but like I could not in good conscience watch football anymore. I was
a little worried about you last night.
Yeah.
Oh, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
All right. Any other thoughts here, guys, about this game?
That catch was a 1/10 of an inch from that sideline there. That was insane.
Yeah. And that throw too is a perfect throw.
Yeah.
Well, what's the kid's from Texas, the freshman receiver?
Worthy.
Yeah. So we were talking about Texas a while back. Like the offense really ran through Bijan, but like Worthy is going to be a big problem for a couple of years here. That kid will be great.
I mean, set the record for most receiving yards in a game for a freshman for Texas, I believe. Yeah. He played fantastic.
It was a great game. It just obviously just kick the freaking field goal, Lincoln.
Or just tackle Texas.
I
just
don't
do
know how
that
they
too.
allow that play to happen, like right at the end of the game, like that. Like,
right.
Yeah.
It wasn't
really
like he was on the
sloppy.
2-yard line. He ran it from like the 17.
Yeah.
Insane. McConaughey needs to start. I saw his video before the game. I sent it to you guys. I know he's also being the culture ambassador for
Minister of Culture.
Sorry, Minister.
I knew when they went up 27. I knew. I said Oklahoma is going to come back and screw me, but I was too busy with my Home Depot projects. Should have listened to Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit and just focus on football instead of going to the Home Depot. They warn us every week. There's a commercial.
If I was a Texas fan, I would like burn it to the ground right now. I'd be
Home Depot.
No. Well, yes. And
I'm a Lowe's guy.
Too.
The football team. All right. The second classic, arguably just as good of a game, not rivals or not as big of rivals, but Arkansas at Ole Miss, both teams looking to rebound from their embarrassing losses the week before. And honestly, both teams played a hell of a game. I only caught the last maybe 6 minutes, but that's all I needed to see. It was fantastic. And just to give the listeners kind of a breakdown of the events here quickly before we talk about it, it was a back and forth game. I think it finished like 52-53. Arkansas ties the game with 1 minute left, but it was that type of game where you knew that was too much time. And it was. Ole Miss goes 2 or 3 plays down the field to go up 7. And then Arkansas had time to go all the way back down the field with a controversial play clock where it was, they ran a play and it finished at 1 second. It was kind of, did it expire? Did it not? But they gave them one last play with 1 second left and they tied the game. And Arkansas's coach decided he'd seen enough and wanted to go for 2 and go for the win. And they did not get it. And Ole Miss survived.
So they didn't tie the game.
I love the call.
Well, yeah, they looked to tie the game.
Yeah, okay.
I love the call to just end it there. Like just get the 2-point conversion and end it rather than go no. Like I like that. Yeah. But we talked about this last week. Like we said that this was going to be a game that was going to be very important for both of these teams because they're looking to bounce back after disappointing wins. I thought they both.
Losses. Disappointing losses.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. Disappointing loss. Sorry. So, yeah. But no, yeah.
It was a classic.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, no, I watched a decent amount of this one because
nice.
Once the Texas game got to be 28-7, I was like, this is over, and I flipped over to the.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, man.
I was flipping between the Ole Miss and the Michigan State.
Yep.
And yeah, it was just like it was a total shootout. Awesome, spectacular quarterback play on both sides. Matt Corral seems like he's the real deal for Ole Miss. And we got a nice Lane Kiffin clipboard toss on that final touchdown he threw. I think Kiffin's clipboard went as high in the air as the pass went horizontally. So that he
looked like a jabroni, and then they almost lost. Yeah,
it's not looking good for Arch Manning. I don't think he's going there.
To what? To Ole Miss?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Lane's a great off. If you're gonna has anyone as your head coach, like Lane
might not be there by the time Arch is like going to college,
I don't think so. Why?
I think Lane's staying for a little bit.
I agree.
Because he's had such success elsewhere. We've kind of talked about this.
I heard USC's got an opening.
Yeah.
No, I think he's going to stick around. That's a good program. Yeah, that's like a sexy program. If you can bring that back, like he's not going to go back to USC, right? Like what other head coaching gig would he take?
I'm not saying he's going to leave on his own accord, like all the other jobs that he's lost.
He left Alabama on his own. Well, yeah, all the jobs he's lost. He left, he left FAU on his own.
Oh accord. Yeah, FAU, the powerhouse.
Yeah, I think the only way he's getting fired at Ole Miss is if he finds himself in a situation similar to his predecessor, and he gets caught texting call girls for his recruits.
Yes, and I don't think that's off the board here, guys. We're talking about Lane Kiffin.
He's a changed man.
Fair enough. He's a changed man. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what, too?
It's changed as Urban Meyer.
Like, also, when you sign Lane Kiffin as your head coach, like, what you're getting, right? Like, with
same with Urban Meyer.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. But at least Lane Kiffin doesn't like show a video of or a picture of like his coffee table covered with pictures of his family, Oh, actually, one more thing I wanted to talk about going back to Texas. Did you guys see the fit that Sark was wearing yesterday? Sarkisian and his wife had on incredible. Like he had on a suit and his wife had on a dress that kind of matched. It was like burnt orange with like brown. They highlighted on game day. They looked great. That's whenever I bet more because I saw him wearing that damn suit. He looked so good.
Oh yeah, that kind of reminds me. That state fair seems insane in that Cotton Bowl. I think said it was 91,000 people at capacity at the stadium, but there was 200,000 people there for the game.
Yeah.
It looked insane. Okay, why don't we move on here to some upsets?
Yeah,
so,
let me take this.
Mike,
this. I'll just get in front of this.
You have the floor here
until
our break here. So what happened to Alabama?
So I was so despondent about Texas. Like I said, I turned football off for a little bit. I didn't look at my sports book, and I thought that was going to be really behind, so I should hammer something. But then I looked, and I don't know what my brain was thinking in the morning, but I had multiple teasers and parlays that were still alive, and the last leg that they needed was Alabama to cover. Some of them required them covering by 12, 15, 18. And I thought about hedging. I text you guys like, should I hedge? And then I thought, surely, I actually said this out loud. Surely the good Lord and the state of Texas will not let me down twice in one day. So I didn't hedge. I had a bet in for A&M to cover and A&M to win, and I didn't submit it. And I cannot believe like that. Whenever I said, surely this couldn't happen, like surely it won't, and then it did. Like that was the guarantee. That was my that lost on me because I said it wouldn't happen. I said it out loud, spoke it in the butterfly affected, and that game was just. I mean, where do I start? Like,
I will say from an outsider's perspective, A&M has looked like complete dog shit the entire year. And we've talked about this, and Mike, you've always cautioned it, but they've looked terrible.
Yeah.
I will say I fell asleep after half. I was exhausted from all the pancakes. But in that first half, I don't care who went to that stadium. They were going to beat them. I don't know what happened in the second half, but it wasn't.
Well, it was all Calzada. It was all. It was a lot of things. Like Calzada looked really good. Like he, and they talked about this on the broadcast. I think the same can be said for Caleb Williams. I don't know what happened with Caleb last year, but like Calzada did not play high school football last year. Like the season got canceled. So for him to come in, and this is his second game, he looked incredible. But I think this also goes back to the fact that like Pete Golding stinks and should be fired. And then on top of that, you have Bill O'Brien and Doug Marrone, two former NFL head coaches, calling some of the most questionable plays I've seen in my entire life. If you are at first and goal and pass the ball 3 consecutive times, what are you doing? The one highlight from the offense last night was Brian Robinson was running all over the place, and you're at first and goal and you pass 3 times. What is going on? Alabama looked terrible on all fronts last night. Not only that, but they had some bad luck too. Like they just had things go wrong for them. So, you know, I don't think it's the end of the world. Like the thing that upsets me the most is that I'm an idiot and I didn't hedge my bets. Whenever I even had the freaking bet in, I should just hit submit. But I thought, no, I'll be good. And overall on the weekend, I'm actually up a lot. Shout out to the Houston Cougars and the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, and also Arizona. They did some good things for me last night too. But it's disappointing that like that happened. Like it hurts my heart that I was such an idiot, but also like in the grand scheme of things, Saban should clean house on the coaching front. Bill O'Brien and Doug Marrone stink for 2 former head coaches. And also Pete Golding should have been gone 3 freaking years ago.
2 former head coaches that got fired and couldn't get a job in the NFL.
They stink. And Pete Golding should absolutely be like on the unemployment line. That guy is terrible. The defense looked awful. I will say that like overall, like Bama obviously still controls their own destiny, and that loss felt a lot like 2015 when we lost to Ole Miss, and then we ended up making the playoff and win the whole damn thing anyways. So, you know, it is what it is. Like I honestly think it's kind of good that Saban needs this type of stuff to happen, because then he can point to this for the next 3 years and say, oh, y'all think you're good? Like, well, remember A&M 3 years ago? Like, y'all ain't shit, you know? And that he's just going to dine out on this for years to come now. So I think it's not the end of the world for Bama. A&M looked great. Calzada looked really good. I think he's going to be a problem for years to come. But, Yeah, now Saban, and honestly, Saban can kind of be hard. He's gonna be hard on himself too, because preseason, Jimbo Fisher said something about beating his ass, and Saban said what in golf, and now he's
and it's going around that Jimbo said he'd go vegan for a year if he beat Alabama.
Really?
It's going around. I don't. I think it's true. It's online, so it must be true. But yeah.
So for all of our listeners here, Mike wouldn't talk to us yesterday after this game. So this is really the first time we're hearing his real thoughts.
I wouldn't talk to anyone.
This is why he's long-winded about this.
I'm glad you guys left me alone. Yeah, I about walked into traffic.
What did you guys think? Did you guys get to watch this game?
Yeah,
I didn't watch it. Go ahead, Nathan.
I was gonna say I stayed up for it. It was just like I couldn't believe Bama was losing, and my sister went there, so I was enjoying a little bit of Schadenfreude on watching Bama lose. Sorry, Michael. But no, I mean Calzada looked great. I don't know how he came back into the game. He took this hit on the second to last drive, and it looked like his entire leg got rolled up. Yeah. They took him to the medical tent, shot him up with something, and he came back in and was playing great. And I will say Bama got a little lucky too on their final touchdown drive. Their receiver was just totally uncovered, wide open. It was like pitch and catch. For 6 there. So I'm still a little shocked they lost, but crazy game.
I thought he was going to drop that. The fact he had to go to his knees to catch it, I thought he was.
It was not a great pass
sure.
from Bryce Young, but no, I mean I think Bama will be fine. They'll probably still win the West.
They got to beat Georgia.
I mean,
and they only dropped to 5th, right? So
they're still
there.
Yeah. Ultimately, they beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. They're fine, but
So I didn't get to watch that game. I was watching the Michigan-Nebraska game at that time. So almost an upset, almost on this segment right here. It was a super close game, and honestly, like I was happy to get the win at Nebraska. And the only thing I really have to say about the game it was a close game, fun to watch, but it was all over the place. The only thing I want to bring up from last week, it's the fourth quarter. Minute 30 left. Michigan is, I got it in my notes here. Let's see. Michigan's down 3rd and goal with a minute 30 left. Who's in at quarterback?
JJ
McCarthy. Yep. 3rd and goal, a minute 30 left. And he did run it kind of as expected, and he lost yardage, and then we kicked the field goal to go up. So ultimately didn't really change anything, but it was interesting to see that he was in there at that point in the game. So
that was an interesting game because, I mean, when the line came out, I thought it was strange. I mean, haven't watched much Nebraska since like their first game of the season, but it seems like they're kind of getting things together.
Yeah, they looked pretty good. They were kind of, and I told you guys this yesterday or whenever. They treated it like their Super Bowl. Before the game, there's smoke everywhere. They're turning the lights on, turning the lights off. Like there's just people are going nuts. I saw 2 girls crying in the stands, like watching the game. Like it wasn't like crying drunk. Like they were crying because they got a turnover or something. I think it was the turnover they got. So
and Husker football is everything for those people. There's nothing else.
Yeah,
literally.
So it was a good game. Happy to win that one.
Get one this year. It might be Iowa that they get. I think they're going to get one this year.
Nebraska's they shoot themselves in the foot. I think is one of their biggest issues. I think it's more so than it's not necessarily a big lack of talent. It's their mistakes in big spots.
Yeah, they were going down to tie it or go up even at the end there, and I think we forced a fumble and took the ball and ran with it. So it's again shooting themselves, like you said.
Yep. Okay. Quickly, the last upset I just wanted to talk about: Boise State beat BYU, ended BYU's playoff bid. They were undefeated. Injuries just took a toll for BYU, and that was kind of it.
Mormons. We'll see.
Yep. Okay, guys, why don't we take a quick break here and come back? Sounds good?
Yep. Sounds good.
Good.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope you refreshed your drinks out there, everyone, listeners, maybe. I don't know. I usually cut the videos pretty quick, so I guess you don't have as much of a break as us. But everyone go to the bathroom? Everyone good?
They can pause, they can pause.
I guess you can pause.
Potty breaks are fine,
Okay, why don't we get to our betting section here? I just wanted to mention something. It kind of, I just kind of realized this, but don't forget that I realize that some of you listeners live in terrible states that don't allow sports betting, and that's miserable for you guys. Or maybe you just don't trust yourself with betting actual money, which I probably shouldn't most of the time. So please.
Or don't trust yourself when yourself is telling you See, this is if you live in a state where you cannot gamble on sports, it's actually a blessing because sometimes when things hit, you feel like a genius. Like whenever I woke up this morning and I saw that Arizona covered, I felt great. Because then on the weekend, all of a sudden I'm positive, feeling good, but still you heard me, the heartache that Texas, like it sucks that Texas lost to Oklahoma because I love Texas. I hate Oklahoma with everything in my heart. And then for Alabama, like I wouldn't be too upset about that Alabama loss if I didn't, especially because I thought you should hedge this game before the game started. You should absolutely do that. And then I didn't. So yeah, this is the type of stuff that gambling, it's fun. It's a great time.
It's fun when you win. It's miserable when you lose.
Especially
it's going to be
when
okay.
You have the right thought and you don't do it.
Yes.
There's always next week.
There's always tonight.
There's always next week.
I know there's playoff baseball. I've actually hit 2 parlays now in playoff baseball. So I might just go forget football and just go there. Yeah. So just make sure you guys, don't worry about it if you can't actually bet. If you still have bets in your head,
send us your thoughts.
Send us your thoughts regardless. Even if you're not actually going to bet it, please do. Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
Remember that.
And sometimes when you have a thought and you're not actually going to bet, sometimes it's terrible. Sometimes it haunts your dreams and nightmares. So,
all right.
So there's that.
Why don't we move into the games that we're looking forward to this weekend in addition to the old brass Spittoon?
Ooh.
So another lightning round. Mike,
Ooh.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm waving my hands for all the listeners to see. So yeah, I think Kentucky Georgia is going to be a good game. I think cats and dogs. I mean, that's always a competitive game. So I think it's going to be pretty good. I do think Georgia's going to come out on top, but it's going to be I think it'll be a good challenge. I know that one of our listeners, Nick Doyle, thinks that Georgia's really going to get tested in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party when UF and Georgia play. But I think this one's going to be a good challenge too. We're going to get to see a little bit more about what Georgia's all about, and obviously that's important for me. But I thought that Stetson Bennett looked pretty good this weekend. So we'll see if he continues to grow and play well. But I think that's going to be a good game.
Yeah, neutral site. Kentucky gets their shot. This is it. They win, then they're.
And they had a big win this weekend too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The game that I'm looking forward to is the one we talked about a couple episodes ago. Nebraska at Minnesota, the $5 bit of broken chair trophy. I'm ready for it. I'm excited.
Same.
It's on national TV, and we will talk about that later when we preview the game. Remember to donate, please.
Yep.
I heard from one listener they're looking at potentially donating $55 to stick with the theme to each charity. So
I like that.
I haven't heard if it was confirmed yet, but that's one of the potential potential donations.
When it's confirmed, they get a shout out.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
that's the way it works.
The 2 charities are Team Jack and the Minnesota Masonics Children's Hospital. So we have those links in our Instagram, on our bio. Like we said, we are going to also make a donation, and we will shout out people that send us their slips. So please do. Very important. I'm excited for the game. I think it'll be a great one. Joe, you got one?
Yeah. So I had 2 games. The first one that I had was Kentucky, Georgia as well. So obviously Mike covered that one. Mine is OK State and Texas. I want to see if Texas can bounce back against Oklahoma State. So I don't know. We'll see what Texas looks like, but I think they're going to come out swinging.
I mean, OK State is now the only other undefeated Big 12 team.
Yeah.
So they got their shot now to stay undefeated until Bedlam. So, yeah.
I love Bedlam. Such a good name for a rivalry too. What's that at right now? Well, I'm looking to see what that line is. Nathan, you got anything coming up for this week? Anything that you're excited to see in week 7?
Yeah, I mean, other than the ones y'all have mentioned, Ole Miss Tennessee is probably the one I'm most interested in. There's no national title implications, no conference title implications. It's just Lane Kiffin going back to Rocky Top. They hate him there.
I think Nathan's got a crush on Lane Kiffin.
Out of hand.
I don't blame him, man.
I'm all aboard the Lane train. I think he's.
Choo.
I mean, half of it's because his Twitter is so entertaining.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. That's
check out his Instagram though. He only follows Arch.
Yeah. I think it'll be fun if you're an Ole Miss fan. I think I'll say that, but it'll definitely be good to watch too, because like you said, going back to Rocky Top. So
or miserable, because Tennessee, Tennessee's not very good, but you never know. Going to that stadium, who is always filled, it's one of the biggest in college football. You never know.
Yeah.
And Tennessee's offense is looking a little better. Josh.
Yeah, with former Michigan quarterback there.
Yeah.
Mr. Milton.
I think he was potentially getting benched earlier in the season. So it'll be, I don't know. I haven't watched any of it. I just caught that highlight when they were in game day one week, but I don't know.
So this is interesting. Texas is favored by 4.5 against OK State. So I know it's going to be at home, right? Texas, they're playing in,
in
so
Austin.
It's in Austin. So that's interesting though. I was probably going to take Texas no matter what. I'm really bullish on Texas in that program. Listen, Sark walking around in fits. I encourage anyone to go check out the fit that he was throwing. It was incredible.
I will say, see, I was thinking even his sideline gear, like he had a pullover, just a clean white with that burnt orange logo. I mean,
Steve
it's
Sarkisian. Steve,
it's a solid look.
Steve, come back to Tuscaloosa, please. I got these two sloppy schmucks, Bill O'Brien and Doug Marrone, ruining my team. Come back.
All right,
Steve.
Mike, did you want to touch on some college football playoff? I think you said you had a little bit of thoughts.
So
this trophy.
No, I know we did the buzz around for upset alerts. I didn't see anything that was too crazy from an upset perspective, but what I did think was interesting was the rankings. So they just came out, and Cincinnati is at number 3, and I think that's really important, because when you look at like a lot of the national media chatter is all about like Cincinnati getting to the playoffs and no group of 5 teams have been included. So it's, I think, important that they're number 3 right now, because clearly they're not gonna play anyone more more noteworthy than the teams that they've already played. And the fact that they are at number 3, it also is interesting because like they're not going to do anything assuming that they win the rest of their games, right? They're not going to do anything to drop from number 3. So it's going to be a question of who can be more impressive. And I think that like some things are going to sort themselves out, right? Like obviously, like, Georgia has a lot of games left. Like Bama's at number 5 now. We'll see how they do. The Big Ten is the biggest question mark for me, because there's so many teams. Like, even though Penn State lost the game, they're still very much a threat. Michigan State, Ohio State, though, that's gonna be a battle. Iowa's at number 2, so it's like if they keep winning out, it's interesting to me that they were put at number 3, because I think that this is a hard place for the committee to be. It's good for Cincinnati because it's hard to like bump them down from there, but it's gonna be tough for the committee too, because like, how do you make it, assuming you have an undefeated Iowa and undefeated, what's, for the sake of you guys, a Michigan team. Let's say that you have an undefeated Iowa going against an undefeated Michigan team in the championship. And then you have one loss Bama taking on undefeated Georgia. And then, let's say Arizona State keeps doing their thing in the pack. And let's say Oklahoma wins out. Then what happens to Cincinnati? So it's like, I think a lot, it will probably get simpler by the time we get to the end of the season. But it's like, if Cincinnati wins out, like, you put them at 3.
So I will caution you, and I didn't realize it until I'm looking at their schedule now. So while UCF this week is still a bit of a pain, it's a program that knows how to win. It's not as good as it usually is. There's one game that they need to worry about, and it's their second to last game. They're playing an undefeated ranked SMU. So
funny excess.
That could be it. I mean, the rest of the games seem like they should roll through them.
So that makes it even tougher for the committee. If SMU is still ranked by the time they played Cincinnati, that's even harder for the committee to leave them out.
Correct. I'm not convinced they're not gonna drop a game, because they have, even though they beat the crap out of Temple. I mean, okay, shocker. When they beat a Notre Dame team that's fine.
Stings.
They
Sorry,
struggled.
Bridge.
They almost lost to Indiana. Like they weren't impressive those first couple games, and now it's going to be a real key for them because they've never been in this situation really to keep the focus. Not only do they have to beat some bad teams, go on the road and beat some bad teams, but then they have one more. Even if SMU is a one-loss team and maybe not ranked, they're going to be a quality team that they still have to beat. So
yeah,
I don't know that they're going to win out. I really don't. I think if they do, I think they're in. I think because of where they're ranked, like you said now, I don't think they can keep them out. But
I mean, just where we sit
see.
right now, I think that the committee is going to have a tough decision to make. I mean, it's kind of early for hypotheticals, but let's say you do have an undefeated Oklahoma. Bama takes on a one-loss Bama takes on an undefeated Georgia in the title game. And then let's say you have two undefeated teams. You have Iowa and whoever from the East is undefeated. Like in those scenarios, like how do you make a decision on 4? It just seems so tough, It's
going to be tough. It's going to be messy because if it's easy if Oklahoma wins out, Big Ten's winner.
I just don't think Oklahoma's going to
undefeated.
win out though. Like they've had some close games the past few weeks that have made me think like,
So all season going back to their opener against Tulane.
They have not. I'm not sold on them at all.
So I wasn't. But this new kid, this new quarterback, like Caleb. I mean,
that's one game. Let's give it some time and see.
Fair.
And a rivalry game. So, but here's the real trick thing is the most likely scenario here is Oklahoma drops a game, Ohio State with their one loss wins the Big Ten, and Alabama beats Georgia. So they're both at 1 losses. So does that put Cincinnati, if they go undefeated, at the number 1? Are they really the number 1 team? Because they'd be the only undefeated, and they would essentially
they wouldn't
go up their rankings.
I don't see them going up from number 3. Do you guys?
If they're undefeated, why not? I mean, 2007?
I think
Florida was number 1.
What they should do,
true.
This has got was it South Florida or UCF, like where they won the championship but didn't win the
I don't know. I mean, if Georgia loses to Alabama, you're still a 1-loss team. Like, and Iowa, if they lose to Ohio State, they definitely drop. So, are you really going to put a 1-loss Ohio State above?
But if it's an undefeated Iowa, and guys, listen, give yourselves more credit here. Let's say it's an undefeated Michigan State going against an undefeated, or an undefeated Michigan going against an undefeated Iowa. Like that could happen.
Yeah.
What do you do in that situation?
Don't think so.
Because you have to put both of those teams in. And if Bama beats an undefeated, assuming Bama has 1 loss, beats undefeated Georgia, you have to put both of those teams in.
I don't know if you do. I think at that point, if we're getting down to a bunch of 1-loss teams, they're going to default to whoever won the championship. And like it won't matter if Bama lost to A&M earlier in the season. They beat Georgia, so they're in. Sorry to the Dogs. And that's how they'll have to do it. It could end up still that Cincinnati gets left out of that.
Yeah.
But we've seen it though. Like that's the thing though. They're in a tough situation because it's like precedent. We've already seen twice where Bama has knocked off Georgia in the championship and they both get in.
Right. So that's the only scenario. The Big Ten, they're not going to do that with the Big Ten. They won't do that with
if they're both undefeated. Why not?
They won't. If they're going to have to default to which championship losing team, 1-loss team gets in, it's not going to be someone. They're not going to put in Iowa or this case it's going to be Iowa.
Well, that's actually interesting.
They're not going to put Iowa in over Georgia. Like it's going to be Georgia.
If it's an undefeated Iowa, okay, undefeated Iowa against 1-loss Michigan. Michigan wins a close game. How do you not put Iowa in as well?
Because of the other situations, because you're going to have the situation with Georgia and you're going to have Cincinnati. So I don't think they're going to do it. I really don't. They're going to put in the Big 12 champion winner. They're going to potentially put in Oregon if they're just the 1 loss to Stanford. I mean, you can't count that out either.
Who got screwed?
Screwed. So if they roll through the rest of theirs, I mean, there's a lot of scenarios here. We could go on for days, but I guess it's something we'll keep an eye out for. But it's definitely going to be interesting. It's not what we thought at the beginning of the year. We thought
if you don't like this sport too, like just get the hell out of here. Like what other league is like there's this much conjecture over like
sure.
Oh, it's so fun.
We thought it was going to be chalk at the beginning of the year, like most years. It's not going to be. It's going to be fun.
Well, we thought the playoff was going to be easier than the BCS, and it's turned out to be just as
they just got
controversial.
They're going to have to expand it. Like the more and more controversy there is, they're just going to have to talk about.
Which you would think the NCAA and
more money to be made.
Yeah, right. They only care about their money. Like you can get sponsorship.
Especially they're going to be losing money now that the players can get paid. That's how you make it up, I guess.
Also, if you have the first round, if it's a group of 8 or 12 and it's the first round is on campus, school wins too.
Yeah, I think the issue that you can run into though is with health. It's kind of like NFL, how they're the NFLPA doesn't want to expand the season for health and safety reasons, which makes sense. It's just adding more to more games for their body to play. So
yeah,
from what I understand,
I don't know about you guys, but I'd be fine if we cut back to 11 games. If it meant an expanded playoff, there's always one game a year that
that's an option too.
That you're like, this is so boring.
Well, because it's a cupcake. Yeah, everyone gets the cupcake games in. So I mean, you might have. I mean, for me, and for most schools, like you'd have them kind of be like, we don't want to because they're losing that revenue, right? So everyone has to agree to lose 1 week of revenue versus a couple teams getting an extra couple weeks of revenue.
Yeah, it's the teams that aren't usually very good. They're going to be losing out.
So from what I understand, the holdup right now is it's not anything to do with player safety. It's the alliance and it's how the 8-12 teams are going to be decided. So the alliance with the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 do not. They're very careful with how many teams are going to be accepted from the SEC. It's really just a pissing match between the Alliance and the SEC because with them adding Texas and Oklahoma, they're afraid, and then Notre Dame's not in a conference. They're afraid of how many of those teams, and then assume you're going to give the other 5 at least one potential champion, depending. So I think the issue is the numbers with what they're going to call. Is it going to just be automatically, conference champions are in and then all the rest are at large? Or I think that's the holdup right now, because I think the alliance is afraid it's going to be 4 or 5 SEC schools out of 8, and they don't want that. So they're the ones that said no. Right now
too, that like if it is on that conference bids, that eventually I'm not saying this can happen most of the time. There's going to be a scenario where it's a team that's like, I don't know, like 7-5.
You're talking about the NFL East
somehow,
or the AFC East,
exactly. Somehow, or NFC West. Really, it's normally the last time I had was the NFC West 7-9 team, right? But you're gonna have a conference champion win that just has no business winning.
But hey, then I'm okay with that. If you win your conference, you get
more chaos in this sport. The better. We're already talked about a super conference, an alliance of the remaining conferences, and Notre Dame just slapping their dick around, doing whatever. Like it's sorry, Bridget, Notre Dame slander, but they stink.
Sorry, Catholics.
Sorry,
all right.
Sorry to all Catholics.
Why don't we
people, I guess
we shift this
a lot of people
the trophy here, guys. Great talk. Love it. It's the college football playoff is going to be awesome. I'm excited for it. All right. So today we are talking about a classic trophy, the Old Brass Spittoon. So this trophy is given to the winner between the Michigan State Spartans and the Indiana Hoosiers. So let me hit you guys with some fun facts here.
I love fun facts.
And this is, I promise you, I'm not just trying to slander the state of Indiana and their football program, but these fun facts are probably going to be eye-opening, or maybe not, to Indiana fans or college football fans. But in this series, Indiana has only been ranked 3 times going into this game, compared to Michigan State being ranked 21 times going into this game, which I thought was interesting. I'd assumed that Indiana would have had. I know they're, have struggled beside recently, but
does Indiana have a mascot?
I don't do
no,
they?
They're the Hoosiers.
They have like a buffalo thing that runs around.
Was the buffalo thing
Doesn't sound like it's a strong mascot.
Was it at a bar with a young blonde? Like, is that the type of scandal that you're gonna put on our lap here, EJ?
No.
Could be. Who knows?
Could be. So one of those matchups were actually between both teams were ranked, which is kind of cool. One of those three that Indiana was ranked. So in 1993, the number 23 Hoosiers beat the number 21 Spartans 10-0 that year.
Number 6.
Yeah. I put number 6. 93 wasn't their number 6 year. It was.
Oh, it wasn't.
No, I messed up, but they were number 6 in, I believe, the 60s. They had a really good year that year. It was probably 1967. So on this next fun fact here, Indiana's only won the Big Ten twice in its history, which again, I feel is kind of crazy because I feel like, every once in a while, you have at least a good team, but it was in 1945 and 1967, and they've only been to 12 bowl games. And one of those includes the 1968 Rose Bowl, where they went.
Whoa. Indiana has only been to 12 bowl games is way crazier to me than the fact they've only won the Big Ten twice.
So you're telling me one of my fellow Lions fans is surprised when a team doesn't succeed?
That is true.
Yeah,
I just didn't think it was this bad.
No one was happier when Rutgers and Maryland joined the Big Ten and made them look competent.
Yes, finally, and they put them in that side.
Yeah, bring them in. Bring these guys in.
Oh, they're going to be in the East. Yes, please.
What's Penn up to? What's Temple doing? Do they want to join?
UConn. You're looking for the.
Oh, speaking of which, UConn and UMass had a hell of a game this weekend.
Yes, they did. Yes,
hashtag fade UConn. Hashtag fade UMass. Hell of a game in the Cum Bowl.
Yeah, I was going to say that was unfortunate name with the Connecticut C and then the UMass UM. Just for all the listeners connecting the dots here.
Oh, like coming. Oh,
gotcha.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. Sorry, this is a family program here, but
it's all right.
Yes. So 1968, they went to the Rose Bowl, lost to USC 14-3. So that was kind of their shining moment. That was
those 3 points.
Those 3 points.
W&J played in the Rose Bowl too. They lost 3-0 in like 1901.
All right, guys. So what's your first impressions of this trophy here? I got some pictures here for you.
Nathan, I'll let you go first as our guest.
Do it.
I was gonna say I feel like I have a lot of preconceived notions about this trophy, so I kind of want to hear from you guys first.
Oh well, fair. As a longtime dipper, a user of tobacco, although now I only use a nicotine product, no tobacco in it. So shout out Black Buffalo, no free ads, but free ads.
Didn't realize they paid for an ad too.
Hey, they're great. They saved me possibly from jaw cancer. So thank you, Black Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, love it. Like it just the thought of whoever thought to use. I hope this. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into history. I hope this has been used. I hope there's a bunch of tobacco inside. Like that's just fantastic. I think the winning team should be able. I think that leading up to the rivalry game, the Big Dippers on the team, like each team should get a couple days with the spittoon, and they should be able to fill it up with their dip spit and then just dump on the losing coach. Gets like it's like slime time live on Nickelodeon. It just gets the spit just dumped on them. I think that would just be a hilarious little twist of the rivalry here. But I love it, man. This thing has character. It looks like it is exactly what it says is. It's an old brass spittoon.
It is. It's definitely brass.
Yes.
So the second picture is like a toy. The reason I included it was because you can better read what it actually says.
There's a toy.
There's a website. We already talked about
sent this to you.
Yeah, rivalrytrophy.com. They have all the Big Ten trophies that you can buy, either like full-size replicas of or smaller, like ornament size.
This is not an ad.
This thing.
Sorry, not an ad. But yes. So so I included the second picture just so you can read. It was hard to read what's actually inscribed on it. But
all right. So let's see what is inscribed. It's the old brass spittoon in like old-timey English font, inaugurated by the students of Michigan State College. The Staters. and Indiana University.
The Fawns.
Yeah, the Fawns, the proud Fawns of Michigan State College, November 4th, 1950. I love it, man. I think it looks cool as hell. But again, as a noted nicotine user, I'm super partial to it. So it's dope. It's a cool idea. I'm gonna be interested to hear more about how a spittoon became the idea for a trophy. But as a dipper,
so I'm a non-dipper. It is what it is. It's just kind of like the bucket, really. It's brass. It doesn't. I don't know. I mean, I think Mike's a little more excited about it than me. But I'd also,
off, man. Come on.
Also, as
and that's a magic bucket. You bite your tongue. It represents the entire state of Indiana.
I'm from Michigan, and I've never even seen this before. So I will say I don't watch many Fawn games without my team being involved.
I just realized that the state of Indiana has a spittoon and a bucket representing the state. What does that say about Indiana?
Well, and the bucket is the far better of the two. I mean, I hate the spittoon. It's so boring.
You hate it?
Oh, I hate it. It looks like the kind of thing my mom used to keep like fake house plants in.
It looks like a vase, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they were like, oh shit, we need a rivalry trophy. Grab something on the way.
Oh wait, the bucket's already used.
What happened with the bucket? That's what happened with the bucket.
We already got a bucket. What else we got?
The bucket's cooler, right? They've got the chain coming out and everything.
That's true.
This looks really awful when usually Michigan State holds it aloft at the end of the game. It's like, oh great, we got the thing, and now it's in the trophy case at the Scandalera Center, like next to Paul Bunyan, we hope, and they just pale in comparison. They need. I mean, I grew up a Notre Dame fan, so I didn't pay much attention to this game. And then I got.
Are you Irish or Catholic?
No.
How did you become a Notre Dame fan?
My dad's from Indiana, so everyone there is a Notre Dame fan because Indiana football is terrible. And I got to state, and it was like, we have a rivalry game with Indiana. What? I'm sure EJ will regale us with the story.
I will tell you how this came about. Yes, because it is a very unique, because Indiana isn't in state and they aren't good at football. So why would we have a rivalry trophy dating back to 1950 with them? Stay tuned.
I love that you hate it, though. I love it so much. I love that you hate it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a big fan either.
Oh, I mean, it is kind of like gritty. Like when you talk about football.
I want to see the inside.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like if this thing has been used, like I said, I mean, I have my.
If they're shooting the cannon, they're spitting into this. Yeah.
Oh,
sure. Great. For COVID, perfect. Yeah, let's spit into it.
I know the answer to this, guys. Don't you worry. We're gonna get to this. I kind of like all of this.
I kind of like the idea of turning it into like a really like dark Gatorade shower.
A losing team should get it.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that.
Come here, coach. They just like the winning team gets to dump it on them. Come here. Midfield here. All right, so why don't I hit you with some of this history of the rivalry? So the first matchup was in 1922, and Indiana won 14-6. And then Indiana won 3 of the first 4 games between the two schools, with one of those being a tie. So they really were
back to their heyday.
Right. And unfortunately, that's kind of where their success in this series ends.
So that's why they started the rivalry. They were winning a little bit, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let's do a trophy." And then
no, that was in 1922, the 20s. This didn't start till the 50s.
Oh, that's true.
This was actually started from Michigan State. Actually, this is not something that Indiana came up with. So
lay it on me, man.
So the series overall, Michigan State leads at 48 wins to 17 losses to 2 ties. So it's pretty lopsided here. So this story, much like all these great stories, started way before any of us were born. And as the trophy indicates, this trophy was first used in 1950.
EJ, what was life like in 1950?
Well, I was just going to say, Nathan, I know you've been dying to be a part of this segment as well, along with Mike.
How old is Nathan? Does he know?
So please try and contain your excitement here, all of you, as I tell you what life was like in 1950. So first, Gwendolyn Brooks becomes the first African-American to win the Pulitzer Prize for poetry for her 1949 volume, Annie Allen.
Snaps.
Yes. Very cool. L. Ron Hubbard publishes Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health. And L. Ron Hubbard is the founder of Scientology.
Just finished that one, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, huge fan of the guy's work. He's really done a lot.
The comic strip Peanuts by Charles M. Schultz was first published in 7 U.S. newspapers.
Boo! I hate Charlie Brown. What a freaking loser.
Wow, coming in hot with that take there.
He is such a loser. Kick the football, you nerd. Like every
EJ,
time
what
pulls it
what
away.
NFL kicker looked like Charlie Brown recently?
Mason Crosby today.
Ooh.
Well, I was going with what game was that when we were watching when he went to practice swinging?
Oh, that
what was that?
What was that? Well, it had to have been
what
the
happened?
Lions, yeah.
Who did that? The other team's kicker went to do their practice kick, while the team's setting up and
warming up,
aware.
yeah, he fell. He slipped
inside
on turf inside. Yeah, it was
man.
Who would that have been? It was one of the Detroit's home games.
The Niners?
Oh yeah, I think it was Robbie Gould. Yeah,
it was.
Is that how he ended up on the IR?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Ford Field takes another one.
He's about 57 years old. He was around when this trophy was. It's his Spittoon, actually.
He's calling in for the history of it.
I really don't know who looked worse, him or the kid that tried to win the car at the Michigan State Nebraska game at halftime.
Oh, that was brutal.
Wait, what happened? I'm not aware of this.
This guy, God bless him, he tried his heart out. Just
the most unathletic person ever. It was bad. Like they kind of, I don't know.
What was he doing?
They did him a little dirty by broadcasting it.
Yeah, he had to kick like a 5-yard, well, technically like a 15-yard field goal to win a car. So it's just him like running up and kicking the ball. It was bad. Like I don't know, someone that unathletic, I don't know should have. Yeah, in his Connor Cook jersey.
No.
It's tough scene.
Oh, that's tough. That's
about as bad as it gets.
Yeah,
that's a tough video.
Not great. Also in this year, the Cleveland Browns defeated the Los Angeles Rams 30-28 to win the NFL championship.
I love how Browns fans are like, oh, we're a real football town. We had 12 championships before the NFL started. It's like, all right, man, that's cool.
There's nothing wrong with that, okay?
Yeah, listen, the NFL was still a thing. It just also had a competing.
57 was a big deal.
Listen, this was right before the Lions dynasty in the 50s when they won 3 championships.
Wow.
And then we, haven't been back to one since. So
we took our Spittoon and went home.
Yeah. And then this is a little throwback to last week. So this was crazy. I didn't even know this was a thing. But so while visiting the Marquette Branch Prison in July 1950, Michigan Governor G. Menon Williams, so he was the one that introduced the Paul Bunyan Trophy from last week, he was attacked and briefly held hostage by a group of 3 inmates hoping to escape. So the governor had a knife held to his throat, but his attackers were soon overpowered by the bodyguards and prison employees, and he made it out.
Holy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then 7 years later, introduces the Paul Bunyan Trophy. Yeah. I couldn't believe this. The dude was held hostage at a prison in the UP. There you go. The Upers.
Oh, the sons of bitches.
Marquette Branch
like,
Prison.
We don't want your trolls in our prison.
Essentially Canadians up there.
Probably came over from Wisconsin.
Oh, they're probably real polite about them. They're like, oh yeah, well, we sure would like to get out of prison, Mr. Governor. Apologizes for this knife at your throat, but open these gates right now, or else we're gonna spill your blood like a pig. Okay, so
respectfully,
respectfully here, if you could, we're really in the mood for some pancakes and maple syrup. Okay,
it's a long chat.
Okay, why don't we so those are all the things that happened in 1950. So why don't we get back to this trophy. So in 1950, Michigan State football had just come off an emotional 36-33 victory over Notre Dame, and they were looking to avoid a letdown against Indiana the following week. So knowing this, the junior class president, Gene McDermott, who was at the time a 25-year-old junior who had enrolled at Michigan State after serving in World War II as a member of the U.S. Navy, which I thought was a pretty interesting thing as well. So he wanted to play his part in keeping the Spartans from falling in a trap game, an obvious trap game against Indiana. So this is what he had to say. His quote: "I thought maybe if we got a trophy, it might generate some spirit. We went looking because we only had a couple of days." So that's what he said. So McDermott and the class secretary, Virginia O'Brien, hit the town to find something that would rile up not only the football team, but the student body heading into that Indiana matchup. So they were inspired by the Little Brown Jug, which Michigan and Minnesota play for. And so the two wandered into an antique shop in Lansing.
I cannot.
This is just like classic. Everything Michigan State does ends up being like us trying to copy Michigan, and we insist it's not, and then we're proven wrong at every turn. It's embarrassing.
I cannot believe.
That just shows you how famous the Little Brown Jug is. Like, you know, especially in the 50s before a lot of these other trophies. Well, I know, but it was ever since it's been implemented, it's just so well known. It was such a good idea to have like a rivalry trophy that I think it inspired a lot of teams to pick a trophy, you know, regardless of what it ends up being.
Yeah, I think you also want to find a way to kind of motivate your team, right? And your school.
From a salvage shop, though?
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
An antique shop.
Oh,
antique.
Whatever.
Same thing.
Well, where else are you going to find something old and cool?
Go to the store and buy a jug of
1950.
water.
There's stuff all around. People didn't throw things away in 1950. Go to your dad's garage.
All right. So in 1992, McDermott
Waste
described
not, want not.
What he was looking for, like in an interview with the Lansing State Journal. So this is what he said. He wanted a trophy that was old enough to approximate both schools when they were in their infancies, and one that was both unique and indicative of the frontier spirit which pervaded the states of Michigan and Indiana. So that's what he was thinking about when he was
frontier spirit.
Sure.
Frontiers are where you find them. Let's go.
So McDermott spotted the spittoon and thought it would be perfect for the rivalry. So inside the spittoon was a note that said the spittoon was used during the 1800s at a trading post around what is now East Lansing. And as the story goes, the residents of both Michigan and Indiana would pass by this trading post. And
did he write this note?
Maybe. So they would use this spittoon while hunting and fishing in Michigan. So obviously the spittoon was cleaned up.
Yeah.
So this one was cleaned up because God knows what was in it in 1950, and was bought by McDermott. How much money do you think it was bought for?
Nickel.
In the 50s, $3.
I was gonna say like $1.50.
Oof, guys, way off. This guy splurged $25, guys.
Whoa.
$25 for this brass.
Where's he getting $25?
And what is going on in Michigan? That a used spittoon is worth $25.
1800s, man. It was an antique. I mean, that's like
but
classic.
According to the note that's in it.
If I walk into a freaking antique store today, like, I would.
Do we need to ask your wife how much did she spend on that milk carton thing that you guys have? That antique.
Kara, how much would you spend on a spittoon from the antique store?
That's not what we're asking. How much would she spend at an antique store is the better question.
Well, okay, all right. How much you'd spend at an antique store? There's no limit to that. But how much she would spend on an old spittoon and antique?
What about a milk jug?
How much? Oh, I actually have an answer to that question.
I know. That's why I'm asking
on
you.
An old milk jug. How much did you spend on that milk jug?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
$70 for an old milk jug.
There you go. That is probably the equivalent to a spittoon.
Take that up to East Lansing. I'd be looking for a new one.
We should make
$70 for a freaking milk jug.
Guys, we need to turn that milk jug into a rivalry trophy. We need to find two schools that don't have a trophy, and we need to convince them that that's going to be their
That
trophy.
actually sounds like a good Penn State trophy.
It does.
I don't know, Penn State, and
they only have a couple new ones because they joined the Big
Ten
trophies
with the milk.
Oh, Penn State,
I was
Wisconsin.
Thinking Wisconsin, yeah.
Penn State, Wisconsin.
Very,
All right, let's get people
I
on
like
the
that.
the
Let's
horn.
do it.
All right.
That actually fits them really.
I'll call Jimmy.
Yeah, give him a call.
So if you guys scroll down here, you can see a picture of Gene McDermott on the right with his roommate, Mike. Brace yourself here. His roommate's name is Bill Wiener on the left.
Well,
So
Willie Wiener.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had to include it when I saw that. So you can see the spittoon and
what's the guy in the right's name?
That's Gene McDermott. He's the one that bought the.
No. His name's not really Willie Wiener, is it?
No, he goes by Bill. Okay.
Billy Wiener.
So for it to become a rivalry trophy, even though they bought this trophy and it's this great idea, obviously Indiana had to accept the challenge. So McDermott sent a telegram to the Indiana Student Senate telling them about this newfound trophy and his idea of having it as, a rivalry trophy. And their reply, this is what they said in quotations: "We, the students of Indiana University, hereby accept your challenge." So it was on.
Huge mistake on their part, it turns out.
This might be one of the first ones where it's just like on from the get-go.
It's on.
Where both teams are acknowledging it.
Yeah. Also, how old were they when this picture was taken?
I assume it was probably the year that they did it. So he was 25. I don't know, because he was a vet and coming out of World War II. That's why he was older. So I assume his roommate's college age. I don't know.
Yeah.
Junior
So this guy made it through at least 18 years of life with the name of Willie Wiener.
Yes, he did. He probably pronounces it different, maybe, but there's no way it's literally spelled Wiener.
It's William.
Waynar.
Willie
Waynar.
There's no, I don't know. Maybe he pronounced it different, but it's spelled exactly what you'd expect.
It's Weener.
Actually, no, it isn't. It actually has an A. Weaner.
Oh, not what I was thinking.
Wayner.
Maybe.
It's
Wiener.
Wiener.
It's
Wiener.
Wiener.
Willie Wiener.
All right. So the student body accepted it, but he wanted to present it before the game so that both teams could see it, because at that point, neither football team had seen the trophy. So he brought it to the game, and this was before the game. So McDermott said he entered the Indiana locker room with the game's new trophy and gave a speech about how it would become the staple of the series for years to come and whatnot. And how did Indiana respond? Well, this is what McDermott had to say. This is in quotes what he said. "There was absolutely no response. It was like going to a wake. They didn't cheer or anything." End quote.
So Nathan, I see where you're coming from there. Yeah. When you said it stinks.
Yeah, there's no. You hardly can even see them lifting it up. It's so tiny.
So I don't know if just Indiana football at that point, I think they were, that team in particular were so bad, hence why, McDermott was afraid Michigan State would take them lightly. So I don't know if they were just kind of like already checked out before the game and could care less about this Spartan fan bringing this trophy, but they didn't want anything to do with it. But when he showed it to the Michigan State coach, Biggie Munn, who we mentioned in last week, the coach in the 50s, the Spartans players' eyes lit up. I guess the locker room erupted in applause, and then Michigan State ended up taking the field and shutting out Indiana 35-0.
Holy cow.
So Michigan State got a reason to get up for the game against Indiana, a lousy team that ended up finishing only 3-5-1 that year. And the Spartans ended up finishing 8-1 that year and found motivation in the Spittoon, I guess. Something
it's just a locker room full of people tipping. It's like, oh, gosh.
Yes, finally.
They're just spitting on the floor. And that's like, we have this Spittoon. Yeah, let's go.
The janitor's the most excited person for this rivalry.
What's pretty cool is obviously you guys saw the etching on what's like written on this the trophy itself. McDermott also put his initials on the bottom of it, which is pretty cool. He etched it in there. So these next trophies you can see here is teams holding it, and I found a couple pictures of players spitting in it.
Oh, you looks like you have players from both teams holding it. That's interesting.
I did, yeah. This week it was easier to find.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have like some sort of weird like filter on my browsers, but
yeah. Well, I'm sure you would have found an Indiana fan if you couldn't have found them. They could have hooked you up.
Yeah, so you can see here there's a picture of an Indiana guy really sweaty spitting in it, and then a Spartan's also spitting in it.
It looks like it used to be shiny. Like, do they shine it up for games? Or?
Oh yeah,
maybe, yeah.
Well, I mean, some of the pictures it looks like pretty gross.
Yeah, I mean it's so old. I mean, 1800s.
Yeah, you can still shine it though.
Sure.
I mean, look at that first Indiana photo that you have on there. It's pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
shiny.
they must. Yeah. I assume they must. So it wasn't only the Indiana football team that really wasn't impressed. I guess the fans weren't either. And again, I don't know if it's just kind of a lack of caring about football because basketball's they were obviously so good at basketball
we
too.
got basketball season coming around the corner.
Right.
Get this freaking Spittoon out of here.
So it said maybe because the Spartans have won like 80% of the games against the Spittoon or for the Spittoon, but the fans don't really know much about it. So here's an excerpt from the Indiana blog, the Crimson Quarry, describing the trophy. So this is what they said. A Spittoon is literally a pot for people to spit in. That's right. And it's made of brass, which I doubt is easy to clean after all of these years.
I'm with them.
In a conference that also has an axe, a pig, a top hat, a turtle, a little brown jug, and $5 bits of broken chair, the Spittoon earns its place at the most disgusting of the Big Ten rivalry trophy brethren.
So that's a recent comment.
The
broken
sounds
chairs
recent.
on there.
Where's this from? Where's this from again?
An Indiana blog. So it's just a blog.
Yeah.
The Crimson Quarry.
Do you think you need to explain what a Spittoon is to the people of Indiana?
Yeah.
Like I imagine that there are some tobacco users in that state. In fact, I think that Black Buffalo is either from Illinois or Indiana. So I'm pretty sure they know what a Spittoon is used for. Ridiculous. Absurd.
So this guy's not a fan of it.
Yeah, this guy stinks.
You know what's really interesting though?
Hey. You wrote this blog, you stink. Okay. Put a dip in your mouth.
So this is the
loser.
This is the other trophies he highlights here. An Indiana fan, mind you. An axe, a pig, a top hat, a turtle, a little brown jug, and $5 bits of broken chair.
And he better put some respect on those $5 bits of chair.
Did he mention a bucket?
He did not.
I don't think he did. I don't think he did. So maybe they just hate their trophies because they don't win them.
Well, that's fair. Hey, shots fired at Indiana, people. But you know what? Indiana's a great state, and we love all good folks of Indiana. And
invented basketball, right?
This guy just stinks out loud. Get him out of your state. Writing blogs for you, unacceptable.
So I just have one last thing. It was a pretty cool story. So I found this story on The Athletic. So Colton Pouncey, who's the writer now for The Athletic, tells the story way better than I can and in much more depth. But I thought it was still worth mentioning, just a shortened version of this. So like we've mentioned, Gene McDermott was the creator of this trophy, and he left East Lansing after he graduated and eventually settled back down into his hometown of Allentown, Pennsylvania. And for years, McDermott would come back to campus once a year. And I think he traditionally tried to come back for this Indiana game when it was at Spartan Stadium. But unfortunately, McDermott was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and that eventually confined him to a hospital bed in his living room. And according to his wife, though, even when that's happened, his eyes would still be glued on the TV for the old brass Spittoon game. And he would tell his story to anyone that would listen because he was just so proud of the trophy and what it ended up becoming. So one of the people that he would tell the story to was his hospice nurse, Ariel Arbushites. I'm going to probably slaughter that. But in 2018, Ariel, after seeing how much pride McDermott took in the trophy, she got an idea to reach out to Michigan State and then head coach Mark D'Antonio just to tell a story and see if they would send just a special message to McDermott, who was in his 90s at this point. And the Spartans responded and came up with an even better idea. So after the team had won that trophy that year, they actually sent the trophy back to McDermott, its original owner, who was 93 at the time, just so that he could see it in person one more time. So this next picture, you kind of see his family members and his hospice nurse and him with this spittoon with his Spartans blanket. So I just thought that was kind of cool that he got to see it again after all this time.
And I will say something else too, is someone who, kind of grew up, I did grow up in Pennsylvania, You get those weather alerts of like, bad storms are coming through, like bad winter storms, whatever. I feel like Allentown was always on the list. Like, I don't know why it was all. Maybe I remember it because it was first, but like, they do the weather alert, and I feel like Allentown was always on the freaking list. So this guy is
the product of alphabetized weather alerts.
Well, this guy's double tough because if he lives in Allentown, where apparently they get the worst storms of all time, and made it through World War II, and found the Spittoon, like. Hell, gentlemen. So
you need to send this photo to all those people in Indiana and see what they think.
Yeah, I mean,
feel bad about it.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, that was a very shortened version. There's a pretty cool expanded version. If you have a subscription with The Athletic, I recommend you check it out. But yeah, that's really going to do it for us. So this next section, I just kind of wanted to get Nathan's thoughts because I know you wanted to be here for the Paul Bunyan Trophy, but you were busy. You're actually up in Michigan watching them win. So I just wanted to give you a chance as a Spartan grad to kind of add anything you wanted from this week or last week that you didn't get a chance to.
No. I mean, I thought you guys did a great job last week, kind of covering the whole history of that trophy. I learned a lot that I didn't know before.
The whole history.
Well, most of the most of the recent history. But yeah, no. I guess a couple things I'd add. I know I got a little dig in at Michigan's uniforms at the end there, or at least
if you don't like classic looks, you don't like classic looks.
Well, Michigan State,
right,
our original uniforms, I think, had the winged helmets as well, and we had the good sense to abandon those. And someday the folks in Ann Arbor will wake up and follow along. But other than that, that's kind of where I'll leave it. I'm looking forward to the game this year. It looks like it's going to be a very good one. If the two teams can kind of hold together
to
here.
both
Nathan, I needed you
bases.
last week. I was trying to get Joe and EJ to fist fight each other, and there was none of that vitriol going back and forth. I need that this week. But hold on a second. You're telling me that the Spartans actually had winged helmets?
Yeah, I think back when we were still Michigan Agricultural College, and the University of Michigan was playing us in like Cass Tech and a bunch of high schools, so they could rack up the wins that led to their eventual highest win total of all time.
Gotta play the team on the other side of the field.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, you guys did steal their swag, so
we did.
Yeah.
Once you guys gotta grow up and be big boys sometime, right? Just because you're behind the curve doesn't mean it's our fault.
I love it. Oh man.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Are you a tool? You remember this tool shed that Mel Tucker's starting?
No.
He actually is not a fan.
I hate it. I hate this woodshed thing.
Woodshed. Sorry.
You can't give yourself a nickname. You have to kind of earn it.
It's forced.
Yeah, it's too much too soon. And they're like saying the student section is going to be the deep end, and it's like, okay, pick like one thing. Don't mix your metaphors. You can't have a woodshed.
Yeah, because now you got sharks. You got people chopping wood. It's just not.
We are swag surfing. We are swag surfing.
I do love
the deep
swag
end.
surfing.
I like that combo, but the woodshed is kind of like
that's a great
out of place
song.
with that.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I'm just, and I think they need to cool it with the alternate helmets and stuff. I'm just glad they've ditched the neon green lettering that they had.
Is it gone for sure?
It hasn't
actually,
made
I don't
an appearance
know.
this year.
Yeah.
I hope
And
it's
it didn't last year, did it?
I don't think so.
I don't think since Mel Tucker's been here, I don't think it's made an appearance.
Maybe
What's your mascot's name?
Sparty.
Well, Sparty, the logo of him on the helmet, like the white helmet
Gruff?
with the green logo. Yeah, Gruff.
Yeah.
Gruff. Yeah, right. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That helmet's really cool. The neon stinks, but if it's a white helmet with a green Gruff on it, I think that looks cool.
Yeah,
not like
a
wing helmet or anything.
And he's in what, year 2? Is that right? Year 2 for Tucker. Like, just gotta let that stuff come to you. Like, you can't force all these different names and stuff. Like, they'll come kind of naturally. I'm not saying he's well on his way, right? So I think as he keeps winning, like, stuff like that's just going to kind of create itself.
Yeah, I think some of it's also a recruiting tool, and maybe it's just such a
Nathan's not
difference.
going.
Yeah, no, I'm not buying.
From D'Antonio, who didn't do anything, which was great. He was a great football coach, but like
he's old school though.
Yeah, half of the battle is getting these young kids to your program, getting good young kids to your program, and sometimes you're gonna have to have some gimmicky stuff.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not Alabama and winning all the time. So
Has Jim Harbaugh ditched the khakis? I feel like I haven't seen him wear khakis all year. He's been
thought he
in
did.
navy blue pants every time I've seen him.
I don't know.
I think
haven't
someone
been paying
wrote
attention.
Yeah, I think someone
Okay.
actually wrote about that. I think he ditched it last year too. I think
It's a huge,
someone
huge
noticed.
brand change for him.
Yeah.
Well,
really
no,
is.
I don't know, because I think he had a thing with Lululemon, so I don't know if they're the same brand. Just
I
I
thought
don't
they
know.
were
Honestly.
Jordan khakis.
I mean,
I mean,
he was wearing the
he
Walmart
might have to wear-
khakis for a while. I thought.
Yeah.
Like, he was
I
buying
mean,
them off the rack, and then
And Walmart,
That's
I mean,
what I
remember they
wear.
had the
I'm
whole
a
segment.
deal.
Walmart Wolverine.
Yeah, he had the segment where his wife was like, "Oh, I bought him those khakis in Walmart." Like,
Mike,
trying
do you
to
know
make
what
him a man of the people?
As an outsider here from the state, are you familiar with Walmart Wolverine?
I'm quite familiar. And
No,
it's,
Mike.
I am
Sorry, Mike.
not.
Oh, Mike. Okay, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I am not. What the hell is Walmart?
So I'm a Walmart Wolverine. It's someone who didn't go to the school who is a fan of the school. So
Essentially, what you have is like, because Michigan State was so terrible for so many years, all of their fans were grads, right? And so when they would get, annoyed with the other fan base, most of them didn't get into Michigan because it's hard to get into Michigan, right? So that was kind of the retort, was you're a Walmart Wolverine fan because you couldn't even get into their school.
So you go to Walmart and buy the gear.
Right. That was kind of the thing.
Huh.
I guess we should have brought that up last week.
That's pretty. That's
I
pretty.
will say I probably wouldn't have gotten in, but I didn't apply. So not exactly a Walmart.
You dumped her,
Wolverine.
bro.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know. I've never loved it. As long
It
as
just
people
rolls off
aren't
the tongue.
front running, like just like pick a school and cheer for them forever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you're not switching sides, I don't
Yeah.
care. But if like you're a fair weather, like I'm gonna cheer for State when they're good, and I'm gonna cheer for Michigan when they're good, we're gonna have
I
problems.
mean, there's every state has a couple of good programs for the most part, and the majority of those fans didn't go to those schools. So you know what I mean? But yeah, you're right. It kind of rolls off the tongue with the two W's. So the last thing I was going to ask you, Nathan, and it's actually funny because you kind of already somewhat answered this, but as a Spartan grad, how would you rank the 4 Spartans trophies and the rivalries on a scale? So we're going to talk about 3 of them. The 4th one we will not, because it's against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So how would you rank them?
I mean, like 1 through 4, which one is the best, which is worse? I mean, Paul Bunyan, I think is the best, just because of the history of the rivalry, the intensity of it. I'm glad you guys agreed that it's kind of an underrated rivalry nationally. Like, and it does, like, when you're there on game day, it's intense. So that's number 1. I think probably the megaphone with Notre Dame is number 2. It's got kind of a little brown jug thing going on where it's kind of split down the middle, different colors on each side. And we used to play Notre Dame almost every year, every other year. And that was those games were always pretty intense. I don't know, there's a fantastic Mike Valeni rant from 2006 when Michigan State blew like a 35-point lead to Notre Dame. It's well worth your time to look it up if you're interested. He like screams himself hoarse on the radio. So
Well, it's
that's
good for you
one.
too because of your family, with your dad being the Notre Dame fan. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, well, I actually remember that game when I was a kid, like being so psyched that Notre Dame came back, and now, as an adult, I'm less thrilled about it. But so that's probably number 2. The Land-Grant Trophy with Penn State, it's kind of cool. I'm sure you guys will get into this, but Michigan State and Penn State are the first 2 land-grant universities founded under the Morrill Act during, I think 1862 was the year that was passed.
Hey, Nathan, what was life like during 1862?
Well, there were a lot of bad things going on.
Just leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll leave it for that episode. You guys can get into it more. But that's kind of a goofy trophy. There's a lot of like weird. It looks really strange, and I'll save it for EJ, and it's really heavy. Yeah. Like people hate it because it's like 80 pounds. But yeah, that one's probably 3 just because it's newer and it looks really weird. And then of course, the Spittoon is like way down.
Damn, I
can't stand it.
So my line of thought was Paul Bunyan, definitely number 1. I hate Notre Dame, and I really wish that the Big Ten didn't scare them off, because those games, Michigan, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Notre Dame, classics, hate them.
Yep.
They're recruiting rivals in the area. So the megaphone's definitely 2 with me. And then I think I like the Spittoon's look better than the land grant, but Penn State's the 3rd rival for me. I also hate Penn State because they were traditionally our last game of the year and had a nice little rivalry with them too. So, which is still kind of stuck around, but yeah, that's kind of my line of thought too. And then in the end, it's just, I'm surprised we have the trophy with them.
Yeah, no doubt.
So when you went to school there, did you have access, or were you around the trophies at all? Like,
Yeah, so
on campus?
so right on campus they have this building. It's like the Scandalaris Center is where it's like all the football operations and everything. But right in the lobby there, anyone can go in. They have the trophies in cases, and they've got
That's cool.
like our Rose Bowl trophy, Cotton Bowl trophy. They may have like replica national championship trophies that we claim from like the 60s.
They probably got it from that website that we referenced earlier.
Yeah, probably.
They do hook up the schools with replicas. So
yep. So
that's pretty cool. That's something that we don't like. The three of us don't really have experience with. I don't think you guys do because we didn't go to the schools that we support. So
yeah, it's cool. I mean, it does bite a little bit when you go in there and you see like the place where Paul Bunyan is supposed to sit empty.
Oh
yeah.
It bites even more when the old brass spittoon's not there because like, we lost to Indiana, which I was actually at. I think the last time we lost to Indiana was
last year.
Oh, we lost last year. Okay, well that tells you how much attention I was paying after we lost to
you weren't there for it though.
No, I was there for it, but I was down in Bloomington in 2016 when we lost in overtime in like the driving rain. It was awful feeling. Bloomington, great town, I will say. I'll give that to the Indiana fans. If you guys ever have a chance to get there, Bloomington, it's my favorite college town in the United States. Yeah, ton of fun.
See that
makes me want to go now.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's
might have
always
to show us around.
Yeah.
Their stadium, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to let you leave at halftime, go tailgate, and then come back in.
Every school should do that.
Pretty awesome.
That's how you get people there. Like let them have fun, let them do what they want.
Especially if you're not any good, right? Like
Yeah.
So See, that's my plug for Bloomington.
That's interesting because like
shout out Bloomington.
Shout out Bloomington. Like that would be an interesting thing to look into because Joe and AJ, I'm curious if you've heard the same things, but like going to school in Western Pennsylvania, like the best party towns are always Morgantown, obviously, which I've been to several times. And I went to school very close to Morgantown. And I always wanted to go to an Ohio Halloween party. Like I hear the Bobcats.
You've mentioned this before.
Throw down at Halloween.
What city are they in?
Athens, I think.
Athens, Ohio. Yeah.
Which is near Akron,
like south of Youngstown, I think.
Oh, on the east side. Okay. Yeah.
It's like way up in the mountains.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's interesting. That like was Bloomington always like the place like where it's like like I want to go to a party in Bloomington. Like, I mean, not that like for me with Morgantown it was like Morgantown's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, like Madison is historically, I think, thought of as like the Big Ten's party town, just because it's like Wisconsin and there's more bars than people in the state. But yeah, I mean, that's one. East Lansing's never really high up on the list. Like I love East Lansing because I went there, but like I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the best college town. Iowa City's a ton of fun as well. I mean, they've got like a whole area that's blocked off from cars, and that's where all the bars are. So it just becomes this big, free-flowing mass of people.
Yeah.
We got to go to the Cyhawk. It's in Iowa City next year too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, I can't recommend Iowa City enough. It's kind of a pain to get to, but it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
Juice is worth the squeeze.
All right, awesome guys. Why don't we get to our rankings here for this trophy? So for the listeners again, we're ranking on a scale from 1 to 5 in looks, history, rivalry, and then overall whether it's a bottom tier, a middle tier, or a top tier. So Nathan, why don't we start with you since you're our guest?
All right. Looks, I'll give it like a 3. Like it's kind of cool that it's old, I guess, but it's pretty boring. History, I'll give it a 5. I mean, that's kind of a cool history with this guy, and I'm a sucker for the kind of sentimental story of him getting reunited. And then sorry, what were the last two?
It is the rivalry itself between the two schools, and then overall whether you would put this in like a bottom tier, a middle tier, or a top tier.
All right. Yeah. I mean, rivalry, it's like 1. It's not competitive at all. So it sucks when you lose, but we're winning most of the time. Sure. So I'd say, overall low tier for me, but I don't hate winning it.
Me neither.
Fair.
Joe, how about you?
Yep. For looks, I'll go 1.5. It's just a grass bucket.
Not impressed.
Spittoon.
Yeah, it's not really my thing. And I've never even seen this before. I wouldn't even know it was a trophy if I ran into it on the street.
Not watching too many Indiana Michigan State games. Football.
I mean, no, if it's on, I'll watch whatever. But still, like history. Let's go with give it a 2. It's not. There's a little bit there, not anything crazy. Rivalry, I'm going to go with 1 as well, and it's a bottom tier for me.
Mike?
Yeah, I am going to looks 4. This falls squarely into the Little Brown Jug, Old Oak and Bucket sweet spot of cool things that like crazy they became a trophy. So I love that. So that's a 4. History overall, I'm gonna probably say it's a. I think about this. So I like. They're like, oh yeah, they kind of swagger jacked Michigan with the Little Brown Jug there. They're like, yeah, we should get something like that jug. You know, let's go to this antique store. I'm sure that this guy in Virginia definitely did a little bit of working on their night moves after they picked this up. I know that for a fact. Been there a million times. But yeah, I would say but just, it is kind of cool that like, you know, they showed this trophy and it's like Indiana just did not care, but then Michigan State got so fired up. So but there's not a lot of like history beyond that. So I think that the initial inception was cool. But so I'll give that a 4, but then we get to the rivalry and it's just a 1. I mean, who, you know, not really a big deal. So oh boy, now I need to like kind of figure out here. I'm gonna say probably I'm gonna give it a mid-tier because I do like the looks, I do like the history. The rivalry just stinks, so like I would put that in low, but yeah.
So I gave the looks a 3. I think it's, while Joe says yes, it is just a spittoon. I think that's just unique. Like it's not like a traditional trophy. Yeah. So that's why I give it a little bit more of a bump than something else, because at least it's unique and not just, like I said, not just like a championship looking trophy or something. The history, I'll give it a 4, and only because I put a big emphasis on fan driven trophies. I love when a fan does something. I think it's still crazy to me to think that someone could just buy this thing and say like, oh, hey, I think this is a good idea. And for both schools to be like, sure, let's make this a thing for 60 years. Like, I think that's pretty cool, right? Like, I think that's pretty cool. The rivalry is definitely a 1. So I'm going to put this at like.
Wait, what was your history?
A 4.
Okay.
I think it's not a strong history, a long history, but I think.
No, like I just couldn't remember this.
Yeah,
so
I get fine. Yeah, I just appreciate that it was fan driven, and you know, still used by the schools because they obviously didn't have to. And then overall, I'll probably put it like a low middle tier, top low tier. So kind of like
what?
How do I put that into the spreadsheet, EJ? Give me a freaking answer.
Low, middle, top tier.
Low, mid, or like high, low? Like what is it?
Low 0.5?
Let's go 0.5. Well, let's go high, low.
High, low.
It's probably my top low tier.
Jesus. Okay.
There you go.
Thanks.
Huh.
All right. So why don't we guys do something? I realized we are halfway through our first season, so we've talked through now 9 trophies. So I think it'd be pretty cool if we kind of just compared them now. So we've done the rankings in a vacuum and kind of compared them to the other ones we've done. But now that we've done 9, I thought it would be cool if we rank them 1 through 9, the ones that we've talked about so far. So why don't we do like a start at 9, kind of quickly build up to your top 3 and then kind of elaborate on your top 3 for time's sake. So Nathan, you're our guest. You've listened to all these episodes and you're in this one. So what do you got for us?
Yeah. I think what I would probably say is, so starting at 9, the Shillelagh doesn't do anything for me. The Purdue Cannon, the Old Brass Spittoon, the Cyhawk, the Land of Lincoln, $5 bits. Those would kind of be like, 9 through 6 or whatever. Sure. Number 3, I'd say the Old Oak and Bucket. I like that they
really.
Hold on. I'm a big Old Oak and Bucket guy. I like that they add the link to the chain every year. Okay. And I liked hearing that they have kind of the tie-in with the Monon spike that like the ladies volleyball, I think you guys said does. Yep. Like that's cool. I like that. So
that was the coolest thing about that trophy for me, was that they also do the spike too, which was dope.
that's kind of cool. So that's number 3 for me. Little Brown Jug's number 2. I mean, the genesis of it is pretty like crazy. The fact that it went missing, they found it, all that stuff.
Multiple times.
And it's just kind of cool. I wish it was a more competitive rivalry, but it's a cool trophy. And then, Homer picked Paul Bunyan's number 1. I mean, it's just, I love it.
Definitely. All right. Mike, you want to go next?
Yeah. And I actually am looking over my rankings from what I did. And when we talk about the Little Brown Jug, I kind of, it was our first episode. So
what did you learn?
I feel like you
don't have to be stuck to what you've said before.
I'm thinking I want to change things. I'm like reflecting on everything. I'm thinking I want to change. So like,
that's why I thought it'd be good to do this.
Yeah. So the low tiers for me are definitely Land of Lincoln's low, Shillelagh Trophy's low, but the Old Oak and Bucket is low. But like, it's a good, I mean, it just feels good. I do like that damn bucket. Like, it's low, but it's not as good as the rest, but still some meaning there. My mid tiers are like the Old Brass Spittoon and the Purdue Cannon. And then I had the Little Brown Jug as a mid tier, but I'm actually going to move that up over Paul Bunyan. Like, I like Paul Bunyan a lot.
Why is that?
You know what, man? I don't know what it is. I just think that all of the history with the Little Brown Jug, with like the whole, it came about because of poisoning, and like they lost it for a while and came back. Yeah, I love it's a gritty trophy. So that,
and it's arguably the OG, right? There's one other trophy in a later series, episode, the Territorial Cup, maybe in a future season. But outside of that, no one else can lay claim to being the original rivalry trophy. So
So I think that for me, I think that I'm going to have the Little Brown Jug leapfrog the Paul Bunyan trophy. It's I might change this. I don't know. I'm back and forth on it.
That's your number 1, or what?
No, at 3 and 4.
3 and 4. Okay.
So, but that's an important leapfrog. You're in the top 3 now. So they're both still in the playoff, but we have the little leapfrog happen there. Number 2 is $5 bits of broken chair. Like, I love Twitter, love the internet. The fact that this came about because of because of Faux Polini, a parody account, mixing it up with a mascot account, like, that's just so cool to me. And the fact the charities, as I've talked about before, that is fantastic. So anytime Twitter does something, like I said, it's a cesspool, stinks. Anytime it does something well, it does it really well. So that's number 2. And number 1 for me is the Cyhawk. Like, I love the fact it came from a bunch of guys in a beer league bowling alley. I like the look of the trophy a lot. I think that it looks way cooler than a farmer handing corn to his family. And all of the stuff around it too, with like the fair and like the traveling TV show. Like, I love the Cyhawk, man. I think that's my number 1. So, and it used to be an actual, like, tomahawk. That's pretty cool too. So, I'm all about the Cyhawk. So, or not, I'm sorry. It used to be not the tomahawk, the original trophy, the Heisman. It looks like the Heisman.
Oh yeah.
Really cool. So.
All right, Joe.
All right, so I'll go through quick. My bottom tier are similar to you guys, the Shillelagh, Land of Lincoln, the hat you can't wear, even though I think Sweet Sue would have been better to keep, but for obvious reasons you can't. The bucket's also down there. I will put the Spittoon down there as well. Sorry, Mike. Mid tier, I'm going to have Cyhawk. Mid to high, like, this is going into the high tier. I got Cyhawk and then Little Brown Jug. And my top 3 are the cannon that fires and you can take it off the stand. That's pretty cool. Paul Bunyan, for obvious reasons, the rivalry, it's huge, bigger than I thought it was. And then my top 1, I don't think anyone's surprised, is the bits of broken chair. I think it's cool that the fans created it, kind of like Mike was saying for the Cyhawk. And then the charities are just incredible. So that just makes it special to me. So that I think that's my favorite one. So I'm excited to see that one.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so mine are pretty similar here. So mine are in pretty distinct threes, like couples. I didn't mean to do this; it just kind of worked itself out. So my bottom three are definitely the Shillelagh, the Land of Lincoln, and Nathan. You actually talked me out of this. I just changed my mind, but I'm going to put the old brass spittoon down here. So then my next tier.
Cancer
You guys don't
kills.
like getting nicotined up. I see how it is.
So my next tier is, so 6 is definitely Purdue Cannon. I think it's cool that it shoots. I put the old oaken bucket up to 5. I do, now that you talk about it, I do like those. I think I like the uniqueness of the bucket. I like the poetry. Eyes and P's. I love the poetry. I loved saying that poetry. So that's that. And then you have like the little brown jug is 4 to me, but it's like above those. So I would still, I'd top.
Here we go.
Top
4.5 or
no,
it's a low medium 4.
Yeah. I would say it's
an
like
upper
a top
mid.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my top 3. So 3 is the Cyhawk Trophy. Love that for the same reasons Mike said. Number 2, $5 bits of broken chair. Same reasons you guys said. And then number 1 still Paul Bunyan to me, just because I love how it looks. Obviously, it's the trophy I care the most about. Watched that game the most. But I would say that the Cyhawk and the $5 bits of broken chair are close. Like there's not a clear number 1. I would say those are very close. Very excited to watch that game this week. So that's how I have them ranked. So we'll see. We'll have to do at the very end. We'll have to do a big ranking to see where we put everything. Because I will say there are definitely some that are going to be worse than these, but there's definitely going to be some that are going to be probably top tiers for you guys.
We should do a
I'm
draft.
Really excited. I'm
draft
really
them.
excited for some of these that are coming up.
We'll do a draft. Take them off the board.
I'm down.
You know?
Let's do it. That sounds great.
And whoever gets stuck with a hat you can't wear. Thanks.
I love that. That should be its nickname, the hat you can't wear. Especially after seeing the golden hat that you can wear this
that thing
last
is
weekend.
pretty. Yeah.
I know. We got to get to those trophies. There are a lot of cool trophies and rivalries to be talked about in a lot of these other conferences. I'm excited for some upcoming.
Well, and that's what's interesting with some of the other conferences that are out there, that like when we do the SEC, if we don't talk about the Iron Bowl, like
right,
and then there's no trophy, but
no, there is. I've seen it. I know some of these some of the Egg Bowl has
there's
a trophy.
The Egg Bowl trophy. The Egg Bowl trophy is glorious, and if you guys need someone to come back on and talk about that, I'm happy to do.
Hell
that
yeah,
as well.
we'll have you back on. Wait,
Mike.
There's not a trophy for the Iron Bowl.
I was surprised they do award a trophy.
They don't put it on the field. I've never seen the Iron Bowl trophy.
Yeah, because you're drunk definitely for the game, and you're
definitely.
Either turn the TV off by then or are so elated that you're not paying attention.
By turn the TV off, do you mean throw it down the stairs?
I came up right when I googled it.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm not gonna look at it. I want to say that. So
yeah, I was surprised because the SEC is known for having these very unique names for the games in these rivalries. I was surprised to find trophies behind a few of them, maybe all of them. I don't know. To be, stay tuned.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, so this week is actually unique because we have 2 games that we've talked about that are this week. So why don't we do a preview of them? Let's start with the preview of the Old Brass Spittoon. So we have now, I believe, the number 10 ranked team in the nation, the Michigan State Spartans, who are 6-0, are traveling to the unranked Indiana Hoosiers, who are 2-3. So this game's going to be in Bloomington, Indiana, like we already mentioned.
I hear it's a great town.
Great town at Memorial Stadium. And I actually didn't realize this, but I thought this was kind of cool. So they have something called Heps Rock. Nathan, you might have seen it, but have you guys ever heard of Heps Rock?
Mm-mm.
Like
I didn't either.
Hepatitis C or
hopefully not C.
Yeah, I hope not. So in 2005, the football coach, Indiana's football coach, Terry Hepner, had a Southern Indiana limestone boulder named The Rock installed in the north end zone as a new campus tradition. So this limestone boulder was found prior to Hepner's first season at IU on a practice field. It's just randomly there. I don't know if they used it as like a blocker or what they decided to do with it. But they eventually removed it.
What a concept.
I know.
Here, if you can block a rock, you can block a human.
So he once he got there, he saw the piece of rock and had it removed and put into the stadium. And then the Hoosiers and the coach would walk out and touch the rock before running onto the field at every home game during his time as head coach. And that tradition continues. And unfortunately, Hepner died of brain cancer on June 19th, 2007. And so the rock was nicknamed or renamed to Hep's Rock during a ceremony with his family in 2010. So now it serves as motivation for the team as well as a tribute to Hepner's influence on the football program.
Sounds way cooler than that dumb pebble they have in Clemson. So.
Yeah, and the very dangerous hill to run down.
Yeah.
I mean, that just seems like you're asking
Can't
for
wait
trouble.
for Dabo tears ACL running down that hill.
All right, guys. So why don't we get into predictions here? Joe, what do you think?
Which one do we want to start with?
So Indiana, Michigan State. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Penix is out, right?
He is.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. What do you think the line is for this game?
I thought it would start at like 4.5.
No, it's
Really?
gonna be more with Penix out.
No, it's going to be like minus 17 or something. Something
Ooh.
like that.
3.
Yeah,
Michigan
Three?
State's favored by 3.
I told you guys.
Oh,
think-
I'm taking that.
Yeah,
I think that'll
I am
move.
too.
I think it'll move, but yeah, it wasn't. I heard the only reason I said 4.5 because someone on Twitter asked, Valenti and Rico asked one of the guys that runs a sports book, like where they think he would put it, like immediately after the Rutgers Michigan State game, and he said probably 4, but obviously that can move. Okay, so you think?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think Sparty's got this easily, especially without Penix. I don't think there's much of a threat. So
Okay, Nathan, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with Joe. I think, the thing that's given Michigan State fits is mobile quarterbacks. And I don't know what this new kid is, but he's not Michael Penix. So
He's not mobile. I watched him
Yeah.
when Penix got hurt. I think he's more of a traditional guy. I don't know.
so
if he's
Jared
any
Goff's
good.
is starting for them.
Yeah. Mike, what do you think?
Dog walk.
Okay.
I think Michigan State's gonna roll them.
So I think without Penix, the Spartans obviously should win. They have explosive players, but they really still haven't put a complete game. I think it's actually going to be close. I think they win. I think it's close because if they put together that full game, it'll be double digits. But until they do that, I can't on the road. I can't take them big yet.
No, Michigan State's gonna destroy the Heat.
Yeah.
So this game is going to be on FS1 at noon Eastern time. All right, so let's preview the $5 bits of broken share trophy here. So that's the unranked Nebraska Cornhuskers, who are 3-4, and they're traveling to the unranked Minnesota Golden Gophers, who are 3-2. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, just watching Nebraska against Michigan yesterday, I think Nebraska's a solid team. I mean, their defense is pretty good. I think Martinez, as long as he's healthy, I think they'll be able to pull out the win. It is in Minnesota, right? That's what. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and
I think Minnesota's just been kind of up and down the whole year. They had that solid start against OSU, then they lost a handful of games that they should have at least competed in. So I don't have any faith in them right now.
and Nebraska's favored by 2.5.
Yeah, I think I would take the points Nebraska's favored. I'd take that minus 2.5. Yeah.
Nathan, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think Nebraska will win. They're due. I mean, they've played a couple of really close games. They've looked a lot better than the team that lost to Illinois in the opener. And I think Scott Frost is coaching for his job. So
Sure,
it's true.
I think
that's very true.
The only thing that isn't in their favor is that it's away. So if that was a home game, that's
yeah.
over
But
already.
I'm not scared of Minnesota's home field.
No.
What
not
the
to
hell
be rude,
does that
not to be rude to the Gophers, but
It could also be like 10 degrees.
Nathan came on to shoot some shot to take some shots here.
I don't think I like that, Nathan. You're not allowed back.
I have a lot of Big Ten grievances to air.
I like it.
So, man.
Not a fan of PJ.
Yeah, we don't like that on this, but this is a pro PJ Fleck podcast.
I've got nothing wrong with Fleck. He's a little bit of a goof, but I mean, they don't
Goof?
I mean, they don't the fans don't show up really. It's not a scary environment.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right, Mike, then are you taking does that mean you're taking the Gophers here?
Row the boat, Sky you mod, go Gophers.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm gonna bet this game, but but row the boat, Sky you mod, go Gophers. Yeah, I got to roll with my boy PJ, and I do not like the slander that I'm hearing. So
I'm going to agree with Joe and Nathan here. I think the Huskers get this win. They've had 3 tough losses out of their last 4 with Oklahoma, Michigan State, and Michigan. I think all 3 of those teams are much better than Minnesota. And because they've been playing better, because Frost is probably coaching for his job here, I think the Huskers run away with it. But we'll see, because they also have, a bad habit of like self-destructing, hence why they've lost those 3 tough losses.
Yeah. I mean, it'll show us where the locker room is, right? Like if they come out and play hard for Frost and like really like boat race Minnesota, that'll say a lot. But
I see what he did there. They're going to row themselves.
And Nathan, it's been great having you, but I don't know if we're going to have you back here. The PJ Fleck Talk.
A reminder here, guys. So they do have the Chair Itty fundraiser. So this is again for Team Jack, for the Minnesota Masonics Children's Hospital. We will be donating. Please donate.
Make us donate more.
Make us donate more. It's great. This game is on ESPN2 at noon as well, Eastern Standard Time. It's on national TV. I think that's a great platform. I really hope that they really talk about the fundraiser. I hope we get to see the trophy. Sometimes you don't get to see it. I really hope we get to see it. But yeah, so that's going to do it for us this week, guys. So follow us on Instagram at whiskers.whiskies, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to check out our Saturday morning betting posts, and please send us your favorite bets for this weekend. Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
Please.
And hedge responsibly.
Hedge responsibly, please. So join us next week when we talk about the Big Ten's newest trophy, the George Jewett Trophy. For Mike and Joe, I'm EJ. Always remember, too much of anything is bad, but too much good whiskey is barely enough.
Cheers, boys.